What if classic and modern SpongeBob existed in the same timeline? In this video, we'll be diving deep over 2 hours into how the entire story of SpongeBob and Bikini Bottom would be different if both classic and modern SpongeBob shared the same Bikini Bottom at the same time. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Establishing classic. Classic SpongeBob was basically the animated equivalent of that friend who's genuinely nice but will absolutely tell you when you're being ridiculous. He is a functioning person who happened to be shaped like a kitchen sponge. Think about early SpongeBob operating in the same Bikini Bottom as the later hyperactive version. We're talking about two completely different operating systems running on the same hardware. Classic SpongeBob came from seasons 1 to 4, back when the show remembered that optimism doesn't mean your brain fell out. He lived in a world where actions had consequences, where people could get genuinely annoyed with you, and where being positive didn't mean being oblivious to reality. The thing about classic SpongeBob is that he actually learned from his mistakes, which in cartoon terms is basically like having a PhD in emotional intelligence. Take the episode Ripped Pants. SpongeBob's at Goo Lagoon trying to impress Sandy, but Larry the Lobster keeps showing him up with ridiculous weightlifting. Larry's basically that gym bro who makes protein shakes part of his personality. SpongeBob accidentally rips his pants trying to lift marshmallows on a twig, and everyone laughs. So naturally, he thinks this is his thing now, and proceeds to make ripping his pants his entire personality for the day. He rips them playing volleyball. He rips them getting hit by a frisbee. He makes terrible puns about it at the ice cream stand. Is that a burger you're eating? You know what would go good with that? Ripped pants. The dude literally runs around going, ripped pants a la mode, like he's discovered comedy. He's essentially going viral for something dumb, and then trying to recreate it 47 times until everyone wants to block you. The crucial escalation comes when he fake drowns. A lifeguard finds him washed up on the beach and frantically asks what he needs. SpongeBob, in this dramatic moment with a divine light shining on him, says, "I need a tailor, because I ripped my pants." The light switches off. The crowd walks away. Sandy tells him, "That wasn't funny, SpongeBob. Y'all had me worried sick." Even Scooter, the guy who'd been slapping him on the back all day, saying, "You're hilarious." Dude just shakes his head and leaves. SpongeBob is left completely alone on the beach with just the sound of wind and his own terrible decisions. And this is where classic SpongeBob shows who he really is. He sits there having a genuine moment of self-reflection and admits, "I didn't have to be a fool to get Sandy's attention. Am I the biggest loser on the beach?" He's actually upset that he pushed things too far and drove everyone away. Then he meets other losers on the beach, a fish with sunburn, one with sand in his buns, a whale who got buried and forgotten, and together they write a song about being yourself instead of trying too hard. He performs it, Sandy comes back, hugs him, and tells him, "If y'all want to be my friend, just be yourself." Character growth achieved. Emotional arc completed. Someone get this sponge a trophy for basic human development. The episode ends with Larry asking SpongeBob to sign his pants, and when SpongeBob bends down, his underwear rips off completely. But this time, it's genuinely accidental, not a desperate attempt to get attention. He learned the difference between being funny and being annoying, which is a lesson some people never learn their entire lives. Looking at you, guy who still quotes Borat in 2025. Now look at the episode Pickles, which is basically SpongeBob's version of a psychological thriller. Bubble Bass, this absolute unit who looks like he ate all the other customers, orders a double-triple Bossy Deluxe on a raft, 4x4, animal style, extra shingles with a shimmy and a squeeze, light axle grease, make it cry, burn it, and let it swim. Squidward stops writing because he thinks Bubble Bass is making things up, but SpongeBob already has the order done. The dude's a professional. Bubble Bass takes one bite and declares, "You forgot the pickles." The crowd gasps. Mr. Krabs has to refund $2 whole, which he treats like a family member died. And SpongeBob? He completely spirals. He can't remember how to make patties anymore. He's putting shoes in burgers, trying to remember if it's bun, patty, ketchup, or ketchup, bun, patty, like he's defusing a bomb. Mr. Krabs sends him home. SpongeBob can't even remember which way he lives. Mr. Krabs has to point him in the right direction. At home, SpongeBob tries to figure out how to sleep, but keeps getting it wrong. He goes between mattresses, stands upside down on his bed, lays across the ladder rungs, puts a mattress on his head. His brain has completely blue-screened. The clock fast-forwards through the entire night while he just keeps trying different wrong configurations. This breakdown matters because it shows SpongeBob takes his job seriously. His professional pride is part of his identity. When he thinks he failed at making a Krabby Patty, he can't function. Everything in his life falls apart because this one thing he thought he was good at turned out to be a lie. Spoiler, Bubble Bass was hiding the pickles under his tongue the whole time, which is both disgusting and a power move. The resolution comes when Mr. Krabs helps him rebuild his confidence. After days of SpongeBob being unable to make a patty, he finally snaps and yells, "Don't you get it? You crustaceous cheapskate? I can't make a double Krabby Patty with the works. I can't put a patty on a bun with lettuce, cheese, onions, tomatoes, ketchup, mustard, pickles, and top bun together in that order." Except he just made the patty perfectly while listing the ingredients. His muscle memory kicked in through the frustration. Classic SpongeBob has genuine anxiety, real breaking points, and actual stakes. He's emotionally invested in doing things right. Then there's the episode Valentine's Day, which shows SpongeBob's capacity for genuine care and empathy. He orchestrates this elaborate plan with Sandy flying a giant chocolate hot air balloon shaped like Patrick to the carnival. SpongeBob has drawn out diagrams with chocolate carnival figures, established radio communication, designated checkpoints. This is military operation level planning for a friend Valentine. The plan is, get Patrick to the top of the Ferris wheel. Sandy arrives with the balloon at the perfect moment for maximum visual contact. Patrick is thrilled. Mission accomplished. But scallops attack the balloon and eat the chocolate, so Sandy crashes and can't deliver it on time. SpongeBob panics because he knows how much this means to Patrick. When Patrick asks where his present is, SpongeBob, with no other option, offers him a handshake. Patrick accepts this at first, trying to convince himself it's the thought that counts, but then he sees SpongeBob giving everyone else elaborate gifts. Random fish he just met that morning get bikes and roses and boxes of chocolates, while Patrick, his best friend, gets a handshake. Patrick goes absolutely feral. Full Godzilla rampage through the carnival, destroying heart decorations, stealing candy from children, threatening to break SpongeBob in half. He picks up a guy and throws him across the screen yelling, "Patrick needs love too!" And SpongeBob's main emotion throughout this? Guilt. Not fear for his own safety, though he should be scared. Patrick's acting like he took bath salts. SpongeBob feels guilty that his friend feels unloved and forgotten. When Sandy finally arrives with the repaired balloon, Patrick won't even turn around to look. The entire crowd is yelling, "Turn around!" But Patrick refuses because he thinks it's another trick. Only when Sandy says, "Howdy, Patrick," does he finally turn and see this massive chocolate balloon with his face on it. He jumps for joy, immediately bites the balloon, and chocolate explodes everywhere. His final line? "Oh, SpongeBob, you didn't have to get me anything." Because the effort and care were always more important than the actual gift. Classic SpongeBob had emotional range. He could be optimistic, but also frustrated and heartbroken. He experienced real consequences, learned real lessons, and showed actual growth. He wasn't programmed to be relentlessly positive. He tried his best, sometimes failed, felt bad about it, and actually changed his behavior. These traits, self-awareness, professional pride, empathy, recognizing when you've crossed a line, made classic SpongeBob feel like a real person instead of a cartoon mascot. He had boundaries. He could be pushed too far. He understood that maintaining friendships required actual effort and emotional intelligence. He valued genuine connections over shallow entertainment. He could read a room. He knew when to stop, which is going to be very relevant when he has to deal with a version of himself who has absolutely none of those qualities and thinks volume equals personality. Now, let's talk about the modern SpongeBob. Establishing modern. Modern SpongeBob is what happens when you take a character and remove every single thing that made them relatable, then crank up the annoying to 11 and leave it there permanently. He's like if someone wrote hyperactive optimist on a post-it note and decided that was enough character development for the next decade. We're talking about the SpongeBob from Season 5 onwards, when the writers apparently forgot that cartoon characters still need to function as people. This version exists in a world where actions don't have consequences, and being loud somehow counts as a personality trait. The fundamental difference is simple. Classic SpongeBob could be annoying but felt bad about it. Modern SpongeBob is annoying and thinks everyone else is the problem. Take the episode Yours, Mine, and Mine. SpongeBob and Patrick want to buy a Krabby Kitty meal, but Patrick doesn't have money. SpongeBob suggests they buy it together and share it. Patrick immediately says, yeah, I'm familiar with the concept of sharing, like he's done this 1,000 times. Spoiler, he has not. SpongeBob pays for the meal with his own money, while Patrick contributes literal garbage, a piece of string, a paper clip, and some crumbs. Patrick proceeds to eat the entire kitty patty by himself, shoving it through his teeth, making chainsaw noises while SpongeBob nervously asks, "Are you going to save some of that for me?" Patrick responds with, "What?" Like he genuinely doesn't understand the question. Then a toy comes with the meal, a little Krabby Patty character that SpongeBob immediately falls in love with. He's having this whole moment with it, talking about his purpose in life, while Mr. Krabs looks disgusted. But here's where modern SpongeBob's character becomes clear. Patrick claims the toy is his because it came from the meal they're sharing. SpongeBob actually agrees to share the toy. Reasonable, right? Except Patrick's definition of sharing means he keeps it forever, and SpongeBob never gets a turn. Patrick literally mocks SpongeBob by imitating him. Sharing is the most wonderful feeling in the world, like dancing with a magical seahorse through an enchanted kelp garden. Remember those words, SpongeBob? SpongeBob never said that. But modern SpongeBob doesn't correct him or stand up for himself. He just goes, I didn't say that, but I guess we can share Patty Pal. When SpongeBob asks for his turn, Patrick says he's too busy working. That night, SpongeBob sadly says goodnight to the toy through the window. He even says, poor Patrick, he's only got the Patty Pal for tonight, and he'll be asleep and won't get to play with it at all. Cut to Patrick having a full rave with the toy, blasting electronic music on massive speakers all night long. The next morning, SpongeBob excitedly goes to get his turn. Patrick pretends he's not home, claims he just washed his hair. Patrick doesn't have hair, and demands to see ID before he'll come out. When SpongeBob finally confronts him, Patrick says Patty Pal and me have really bonded. Eventually, they fight over it. Try mediation with Sandy, which fails because they both start dehydrating. And the conflict ends when Patrick eats the toy so SpongeBob can't have it. Mr. Krabs offers to sell them each a new toy. Patrick pulls out SpongeBob's money and says this time it's on me. SpongeBob protests, Patrick, that's my money. And Patrick's response, have you learned nothing about sharing? That's the ending. Modern SpongeBob just accepts this because apparently he's lost the ability to advocate for himself. The whole episode treats SpongeBob's complete lack of boundaries as normal. Now look at the episode Pet Sitter Pat, which is basically a horror movie starring Gary. SpongeBob asks Patrick to watch Gary while he visits his grandma. He gives Patrick a detailed chronological list of everything Gary needs. Patrick immediately throws the list away saying, I don't need this. SpongeBob leaves, trusting his best friend to take care of his beloved pet. Patrick gets distracted by stomach issues and locks himself in the bathroom from sunset to night. Gary is sitting there desperately dehydrated, pointing at his empty stomach, trying to bite open the snail food bag himself. When Patrick finally emerges, he doesn't recognize Gary, calls him Fred and Barry, and eats all of Gary's food himself, while Gary starves. SpongeBob calls to check in. Patrick lies and says everything's fine, while Gary is literally rolling up to him trying to communicate distress. Patrick laughs along with Gary's stomach growling like it's a joke. SpongeBob reminds him to give Gary a bath. Patrick smells Gary, agrees he needs one, then tries to burn him alive with a flamethrower because he thinks Gary would prefer fire to water. Gary runs away, screaming. Patrick chases him with a hose, traps him in a storage closet, and dumps an entire box of soap flakes on him. Cans are falling on Gary's head while he drowns in soap bubbles. Then Patrick dries Gary with a hairdryer so intensely that Gary turns into a dried-out husk that looks ancient. The house floods completely because Patrick left everything running: the shower, the sink, the hose. Patrick falls asleep on the couch while water fills every room. When he wakes up floating, Patrick says, "Sheesh, Gary. Well, if you wanted another bath, why didn't you just ask?" Like this is somehow Gary's fault. When SpongeBob rushes home expecting disaster, he finds Gary reading Patrick a bedtime story. Patrick thinks the book is called Meow, Meow, Meow because he can't read. SpongeBob somehow thinks everything went fine. The episode ends with nobody acknowledging that Patrick nearly killed Gary through pure negligence. Then there's the episode Shuffleboarding, where modern SpongeBob and Patrick dress up as Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy for a celebrity shuffleboard tournament. Barnacle Boy gives them one specific instruction. When you're through with shuffleboarding, bring those costumes right back here. Don't do anything else. Just come right back here. You got it? SpongeBob says, "Got it." Patrick says, "Got what?" Already a bad sign. They win the tournament immediately off screen because it's irrelevant. Then Patrick convinces SpongeBob the town needs them to patrol for crime. So they start arresting people for absurd reasons. 2 little kids playing on a seahorse ride for loitering, a security guard for throwing away half a Krabby Patty because he was full, someone for chewing gum too loud, someone for having untied shoes, an old lady for being too old. They arrest dozens of innocent people until the jail is bulging. Then they see Man Ray, an actual villain doing laundry at a laundromat. He's catching up with an old high school friend named Mabel, being perfectly pleasant and borrowing detergent. SpongeBob and Patrick attack them with dryer sheets and clothes baskets, shrink Man Ray's head in a dryer, which he specifically said was dry clean only, and throw both of them in jail. The jail explodes from overpopulation. People are injured everywhere. Ambulances arrive. Multiple fish yell, "My leg!" At the end, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy get chased by an angry mob of everyone they falsely imprisoned. SpongeBob cheerfully says they have so many fans. He genuinely thinks this is appreciation. Modern SpongeBob has become a cartoon character who exists purely to create chaos. He's selfish without realizing it, destructive without meaning to be, and completely oblivious to how his actions affect others. He performs happiness at maximum volume, but there's nothing authentic behind it. Where classic SpongeBob had emotional depth and actual relationships, modern SpongeBob is all surface-level enthusiasm with zero substance underneath. And that's who classic SpongeBob is going to have to live with every single day. Now let's look at some timeline rules. Timeline rules. Both SpongeBobs exist in Bikini Bottom simultaneously. Classic SpongeBob from seasons 1 to 4, and modern SpongeBob from season 5 onwards, both live, work, and function in the same town. Classic wears his standard outfit, brown pants, red tie, white shirt. Modern wears the same thing but with a distinctive red headband. Small enough to look normal, noticeable enough that everyone in Bikini Bottom can instantly tell which SpongeBob they're dealing with. Both of them live in pineapples on either side of Squidward's house. Squidward literally has a SpongeBob on his left and a SpongeBob on his right. This is his personal hell realized. The man can't even look out his window without seeing a yellow, porous face pressed against the glass. It's like living in a SpongeBob sandwich where you're the unwilling middle ingredient. Both work at the Krusty Krab. Mr. Krabs hired them both because 2 workers means twice the productivity for the same wage. He's paying them each half of what one SpongeBob would make. Classic works the morning shift, modern works the afternoon shift, but there's overlap during lunch rush where they're both in the kitchen together. This overlap will become a problem very quickly. When Bikini Bottom first discovers there are 2 SpongeBobs, the reactions vary wildly. Mr. Krabs sees dollar signs. 2 SpongeBobs means twice the Krabby Patties, twice the customers, twice the money. He's doing mental calculations about profit margins while shaking both their hands simultaneously. This is a crustacean who once made SpongeBob work 24 hours straight for a dime, so having 2 SpongeBobs is like Christmas morning, except the presents print money. He doesn't question their personalities or differences, he only cares that he has 2 fry cook-obsessed employees who will work for basically nothing. Patrick is thrilled because Patrick's brain operates on pure enthusiasm. 2 best friends? This is the greatest day ever. He doesn't consider logistics like splitting his time or potential conflicts. Patrick once forgot he had a head, so expecting him to think through complications is asking too much. His immediate response is planning activities with both of them. The man is living his best life for approximately 48 hours until reality sets in. Sandy approaches this scientifically. "Well, I'll be 2 SpongeBobs. This is fascinating." She immediately wants to study them, take samples, run tests. For about a week, she treats this like a research opportunity. She has charts, graphs, and a whiteboard with a Venn diagram comparing their behaviors. Sandy loves puzzles, and 2 SpongeBobs is the biggest puzzle to hit Bikini Bottom in years. Squidward's reaction is pure existential horror. The man literally faints when he first sees both SpongeBobs standing on his doorstep together. When he wakes up and realizes it's real, he considers moving to a different ocean. There are 2 of you? 2? He's looking at them like they're a biblical plague. Squidward already fantasizes daily about one SpongeBob moving away. Now he has to deal with double the laughter, double the high Squidward, double the unwanted visits. He starts researching real estate in other parts of the ocean that same afternoon. The rest of Bikini Bottom has the standard reaction: initial confusion followed by excitement. For exactly 1 week, Bikini Bottom treats this like a fun novelty attraction. The Krusty Krab gets more customers because people want to see the SpongeBob twins. Fish take photos. Kids ask for autographs from both. Then people start noticing the difference. Classic helps an old lady carry groceries and then goes home. Modern helps carry groceries, follows her inside, reorganizes her kitchen without asking, and leaves without understanding why she's upset. Classic makes you a perfect Krabby Patty and hands it to you with a smile. Modern makes you a Krabby Patty with creative improvements you didn't ask for, sings the entire cooking process at maximum volume, and seems personally offended when you just wanted the regular menu item. The community develops preferences fast. Some fish specifically request Classic when they visit the Krusty Krab. Others avoid Modern's shift entirely. Parents start giving their kids instructions about which SpongeBob to approach depending on whether they actually need help or want chaos. Even Patrick starts noticing. After enough interrupted hangout sessions, he quietly asks Classic if they can spend time together when the other SpongeBob isn't around. This is significant because Patrick has the attention span of a goldfish with amnesia. If even he notices the difference, something's seriously wrong. Squidward obviously prefers Classic. though prefer is generous. He hates both of them, but hates Classic slightly less because Classic actually leaves when asked. Modern doesn't comprehend the word no, or understand that please go away isn't an invitation to stay longer and be louder. Mr. Krabs starts noticing his brilliant 2-employee plan has a flaw. Classic's morning shift runs smoothly with happy customers and good reviews. Modern's afternoon shift has complaints, refunds, and property damage that cost more than he's saving on wages. Bikini Bottom has to function with 2 SpongeBobs who share everything: a name, a job, a best friend, a neighborhood, but have completely opposite approaches to existing. Classic wants genuine connections and understands boundaries. Modern wants constant stimulation and thinks boundaries are suggestions. Classic can read a room. Modern doesn't know rooms have moods. Mr. Krabs is about to learn that 2 employees isn't always better than 1. Patrick is about to learn that having 2 best friends means eventually choosing between them. Sandy is about to become the reluctant mediator between order and chaos. Squidward is about to discover that his life can get worse, which he previously thought was mathematically impossible. Let's look at day 1 at the Krusty Krab. But before today, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Day 1 at the Krusty Krab. The morning shift starts at 6 a.m. Classic SpongeBob arrives at 5:45 with his spatula polished and his hat ironed. He does his usual pre-opening routine, checks the grill temperature, organizes condiments, counts the pickles. There are always enough pickles. He learned his lesson after the bubble bass incident. By the time Mr. Krabs unlocks the front door, Classic has already prepped 3 dozen patties and cleaned the grease trap. Modern SpongeBob arrives at 6:17 wearing his red headband and holding a smoothie. He's yelling morning greetings at maximum volume despite being indoors and 3 feet away from Classic. It's barely sunrise. A nearby coral wilts from the acoustic assault. Classic introduces himself politely and tries to explain the morning routine. Modern responds by doing a cartwheel that knocks over a chair and announcing his intention to make everything fun. Mr. Krabs walks in, sees 2 employees, and immediately starts calculating doubled profits. He shoves them both into the kitchen. Classic goes straight to his station. In the episode Squid's Day Off, when Squidward left him alone to run both the register and grill, Classic handled everything flawlessly. He knew exactly how to make change, kept the restaurant spotless, and caused 0 problems. The only chaos came from Squidward's paranoid imagination, creating scenarios where Classic was messing up. Reality? Classic just stood there doing his job perfectly, while Squidward had a complete mental breakdown based on nothing. Modern bounces over and immediately starts pressing random buttons. The grill temperature jumps to 500 degrees. Classic adjusts it back and explains optimal cooking temperature. Modern questions why a bigger number wouldn't be better. The first customer orders an ordinary Krabby Patty with extra pickles. Classic takes the order and starts cooking with precision. Bun down, patty on the grill, flip after 47 seconds, add ingredients in proper order. The customer takes 1 bite and compliments the perfection. Modern watches with confusion. He can't comprehend why Classic simply made what the customer asked for without adding flair or most baffling musical accompaniment. Modern pulls out a ukulele from nowhere and starts strumming while singing about making patties. Classic has to confiscate it and cite health codes. The next order comes in. 1 plain Krabby Patty. Modern watches for 6 seconds before deciding the process needs to be faster and more exciting. He grabs a spatula and flips a patty that hasn't cooked yet. The raw meat flies off, hits the ceiling, and lands on Squidward's head through the order window. Squidward peels the raw patty off his face. Modern laughs like causing problems is entertainment, then proceeds to juggle half-cooked meat like a circus performer. The entire concept of food safety has evacuated the premises. Classic tries to intervene. Modern insists he's got everything under control. He plates a patty that's charred on one side and raw on the other, then serves it to a customer who specifically ordered well done. The customer leaves without paying. Mr. Krabs pokes his head in demanding to know why customers are leaving. Modern cheerfully explains he's adding creative improvements to the menu. Mr. Krabs nearly has a stroke. The menu hasn't changed in 30 years. But Modern has already moved on. He's adding jellyfish jelly to a patty the customer explicitly ordered plain. Classic intercepts the order, pointing out the ticket clearly states the customer is allergic to jellyfish. Modern squints at the ticket and claims he thought it said extra jellyfish. Classic points out it says the opposite. Modern defends himself by explaining reading is boring and he prefers using his imagination to figure out what people want. Despite Classic's attempts at quality control, Modern continues wreaking havoc. In the first hour, he serves wrong orders to at least 6 customers. Someone who ordered a regular Krabby Patty gets one with the buns replaced by more patties. Someone who ordered no onions gets a patty that's 90% onions. Classic develops a survival system. Make the correct orders while quietly remaking everything Modern touches. He's essentially doing the work of two fry cooks, while Modern bounces around creating more problems. Then Fred walks in. Fred, the fish famous for injuring his leg in approximately 3,000 different ways. In the episode, My Leg. There's an entire montage showing every injury Fred has sustained, from boat crashes to alien abduction. Fred orders a simple Krabby Patty with no modifications. Classic takes the order and starts cooking. Modern decides the patty needs improvement. While Classic isn't looking, Modern adds jellyfish, jelly, plus coral bits, plus kelp that's still alive. This mirrors Modern's behavior in the episode The Krabby Patty That Ate Bikini Bottom, where Modern and Mr. Krabs steal Sandy's experimental growth serum and dump the entire beaker on a Krabby Patty, despite Sandy's warning to use only a single drop. The patty grows massive and destroys the entire town. Modern shows zero remorse or understanding of consequences in that episode. Classic catches Modern adding random ingredients and tries to stop him. Modern argues this is a different customer who's probably fine. Classic tries to explain you can't assume allergies. Modern has already served it. Fred takes one bite. His face turns purple, his eyes bulge, and his leg swells like a balloon. He manages to choke out his famous catchphrase before collapsing. An ambulance arrives within seconds because they have Fred on speed dial. The paramedics load him onto a stretcher while Mr. Krabs frantically calculates lawsuit costs. Classic is mortified and tries to apologize. Fred waves him off weakly. Noting this happens every Tuesday, Classic confronts Modern with genuine frustration for the first time. He explains you can't just do whatever you want because people count on them to make food correctly and safely. Modern looks confused. He was just trying to make it more fun. Classic explains food needs to be safe and match what the customer ordered. Modern deflates slightly and apologizes, claiming he understands now and will be more careful. Modern immediately grabs the next order ticket without reading it and starts throwing random ingredients on a patty while singing. Classic's relief evaporates. Modern didn't learn anything. The apology was performative. He genuinely doesn't understand what he did wrong and will continue indefinitely. Squidward announces he's putting in his 2 weeks' notice. Classic points out Squidward has been saying that for 6 years. Squidward insists this time he means it. Mr. Krabs emerges from his office listing damages. The lawsuit from Fred, 7 refunds, the customer who left without paying. He's sweating doubloons. Modern cheerfully suggests everyone seemed happy. Mr. Krabs clarifies they left angry. Modern interprets this as excitement. Mr. Krabs asks Classic if he can work a double shift. Classic glances at Modern, who's trying to cook a patty by throwing it against the wall to see if friction will heat it up. Classic agrees to try his best. That becomes the pattern. Classic works twice as hard to compensate. Modern creates disasters without understanding why people are upset. Squidward contemplates faking his own death. Mr. Krabs watches his profit margins shrink. By closing time, the Krusty Krab looks like a war zone. Burn marks on the ceiling from Modern's experiments. 3 broken tables. The cash register down 40% from refunds. Classic has worked himself to exhaustion. Modern is still bouncing around asking when they can do this again tomorrow. Classic walks home processing the realization that every single workday will now require twice the effort. Modern skips home humming, completely satisfied, genuinely believing he helped. He has no idea anyone was upset. Moving on, let's see SpongeBob's and Squidward's relationship. Squidward's revelation. Squidward hates SpongeBob. This is established fact. The man has a bumper sticker that reads, "Don't ask me about my day," specifically because he doesn't want to talk about working next to a yellow kitchen sponge with an enthusiasm problem. But when 2 SpongeBobs move in on either side of his house and both start working at the Krusty Krab, Squidward discovers something disturbing. He actually hates one of them significantly more than the other. The realization comes slowly, painfully, like pulling off a bandage made of regret. In the episode Dying for Pie, Squidward accidentally gives classic SpongeBob what he thinks is a bomb disguised as a pie for Employee Brotherhood Day. Mr. Krabs informs him that SpongeBob will explode by sunset, and Squidward has a genuine emotional crisis. He decides to make SpongeBob's final hours the best he's ever had, and goes through an entire friendship list of activities with him. Classic SpongeBob has a friendship list. He's thought about what he'd want to do with Squidward if given the chance. The activities range from showing Squidward to everyone in town, to knock-knock jokes, to watching the sunset together. They're annoying activities, but they're thoughtful. Classic has put effort into imagining quality time with someone who openly despises him. Throughout the day, Classic notices when Squidward seems uncomfortable. He builds a brick wall between them during the sunset, so Squidward has personal space. When Squidward seems stressed, Classic tries to reassure him. There's awareness. Classic recognizes Squidward's emotions and attempts to respond to them, even if his responses are sometimes misguided. The most telling moment comes at the sunset when Classic essentially forgives Squidward in advance for something he doesn't even know happened. Classic has empathy, even for someone who treats him terribly. Now contrast this with the episode Little Yellow Book. Modern SpongeBob keeps a diary at work, and Squidward discovers it. Being Squidward, he immediately reads it despite the lock, and despite SpongeBob clearly wanting privacy. The diary reveals embarrassing secrets. SpongeBob clucks like a chicken when he sees Plaid. He named his spatula Fifi, and he has to strip to his underwear and dance when he hears the Bikini Bottom anthem. Squidward proceeds to exploit every single one of these secrets publicly. He gets Mr. Krabs to wear his plaid kilt in front of SpongeBob, causing him to cluck uncontrollably. He tells customers about the spatula's name. He plays the anthem over the radio to make SpongeBob strip and dance while everyone laughs. Modern SpongeBob runs out crying after realizing his private thoughts have been weaponized for entertainment. Modern keeps a diary because he can't read social situations well enough to process them in real time. He writes down his completely delusional interpretation of events, describing Squidward's angry morning rant about Gary eating his belongings as enlightening critique from a close friend, and describing a brutal cleaning day where Mr. Krabs used him as a chimney sweep as quality time together. Modern lives in a fantasy world where everyone loves him and every interaction is positive, regardless of reality. This delusion means Modern has no actual relationship with Squidward. He doesn't notice when Squidward is annoyed, angry, or trying to get rid of him. Even after Squidward publicly humiliates him with the diary, Modern bounces back immediately with no lasting hurt. He even thanks Squidward for making his diary a bestseller. When Squidward then reads his personal diary, Modern cries and runs away again, but there's no depth to it. He's performing sadness without actually processing betrayal. Squidward starts noticing the difference around week 2 of the dual SpongeBob timeline. Classic shows up at his door to return a wrench Squidward left at work. He hands it over, says good morning, and leaves when Squidward shuts the door. Transaction complete, boundary respected. Modern shows up 30 seconds later with the same wrench. He wants to come inside and demonstrate something cool he learned. When Squidward refuses, Modern doesn't process the rejection. He keeps talking, keeps pushing, keeps trying to enter until Squidward physically removes him and deadbolts the door. Even then, Modern stands outside talking through the mail slot about wrench facts for 17 minutes. Squidward conducts experiments. He tells Classic he's busy. Classic accepts this and walks away. He tells Modern the same thing. Modern asks if he's sure, suggests they talk anyway, offers to help, and continues attempting conversation for 8 more minutes despite repeated refusals. The breaking point comes during a Saturday afternoon. Squidward is practicing clarinet. Classic walks past the window, hears the music, and keeps walking. He recognizes that Squidward is doing something and doesn't need company. Modern hears the clarinet, gets excited, and barges in with a tambourine to make it a duet. He doesn't ask permission. He doesn't notice Squidward's visible rage. When Squidward screams at him to leave, Modern thinks he's joking and keeps playing louder. Squidward has the horrible realization that he actually prefers Classic. He doesn't like Classic, let's be crystal clear about that. Classic is still annoying, still bothers him, still exists in his general vicinity. But at least Classic understands the word no. At least Classic can read basic social cues. At least Classic has some concept of personal boundaries. Modern operates in a world where boundaries don't exist. Every door is an invitation. Every rejection is interpreted as keep trying. Every clear signal to go away gets processed as try harder to connect. This preference becomes public knowledge by accident. Mrs. Puff asks Squidward which SpongeBob he wants for a boating school demonstration. Squidward doesn't even hesitate. He points at Classic. Mrs. Puff understands immediately. She's already banned Modern from the premises after he turned a driving lesson into a musical number that ended with 3 boats crashed into the lighthouse. Patrick overhears and asks why. Squidward, exhausted from a week of Modern's boundary violations, explains that at least Classic knows when to leave him alone. Patrick realizes he feels the same way. Sandy calls out her agreement. Even Mr. Krabs admits he prefers working with Classic because Modern costs him more in damages than he brings in revenue. Modern overhears none of this because he's too busy reorganizing the condiments to make them more fun. Classic overhears and looks genuinely sad. Because there's another version of him out there making everything worse, and somehow that reflects on him too. Squidward feels a weird twinge of something that might be sympathy. He walks over to Classic and quietly acknowledges that while Classic is still annoying, at least he's annoying with boundaries. The testimony becomes crucial because Squidward is the least likely person to defend any version of SpongeBob. When even he starts making distinctions, it validates what everyone else is starting to notice. Classic has boundaries and emotional intelligence. Modern has neither. Classic can be reasoned with. Modern cannot. This revelation sets up everything that comes next. The person who hates SpongeBob the most has publicly chosen one over the other. That's going to matter when the rest of Bikini Bottom has to decide which SpongeBob they want working at their businesses, attending their events, or living in their neighborhood. Squidward doesn't realize he just started something that can't be stopped. Moving on, let's see how Patrick deals with two best friends. Patrick's exhaustion. Patrick Star operates on a very specific frequency. He likes sleeping under his rock. He likes eating. He likes sitting on things and staring at nothing for hours. Patrick's ideal day involves minimal movement and maximum relaxation. This is a starfish whose biggest accomplishment is sometimes remembering his own name. His brain is basically a screensaver that occasionally displays the word food. Classic SpongeBob understands this about Patrick. Their friendship works because Classic matches Patrick's energy level instead of fighting against it. In the episode Rock Bottom, when they accidentally end up in the terrifying deep-sea town of Rock Bottom, Classic doesn't panic Patrick further or make the situation more chaotic. He tries to problem-solve calmly. When Patrick leaves on the bus by accident, Classic doesn't blame him or get angry. He just focuses on getting home. And at the end, Patrick actually comes back for him, showing their friendship is reciprocal. They take care of each other. The activities Classic and Patrick do together reflect this understanding. Jellyfishing in jellyfish fields involves standing relatively still with a net and occasionally running after a jellyfish. That's it. Just two friends catching jellyfish at whatever pace feels right. Sometimes they catch a lot, sometimes they catch none, and just lie in the grass talking about nothing. The activity has space for silence and stillness. Board games work the same way. Classic and Patrick can sit at a table playing eels and escalators for 3 hours without either of them feeling pressured to make it more exciting. If Patrick wants to stare at the board for 15 minutes before making a move, Classic just waits. If Patrick falls asleep mid-game, Classic covers him with a blanket and finishes reading his comic book. The listening matters too. In the episode Valentine's Day, when Patrick expresses his feelings, even when those feelings involve going on a rampage, Classic actually hears him. He doesn't talk over Patrick or dismiss his emotions. He responds to what Patrick needs, even when Patrick can't articulate it properly. That's emotional attentiveness that requires actually paying attention to your friend instead of just waiting for your turn to talk. Modern SpongeBob enters this dynamic like a hurricane wearing a headband. The first time Modern suggests they all hang out together, Patrick thinks this will be great. 2 SpongeBobs means twice the fun, right? They decide to do their usual activity, sitting on a rock and watching clouds. This is peak Patrick entertainment. 0 effort, maximum relaxation, occasional commentary on cloud shapes. Classic settles onto the rock next to Patrick. They sit in comfortable silence for about 90 seconds. Patrick points at a cloud and says it looks like a potato. Classic agrees. They continue sitting. This is perfect. Modern arrives 17 seconds late and immediately asks what they're doing. Patrick explains they're cloud watching. Modern's response is to announce this is boring and they should do extreme cloud watching instead. Before anyone can ask what that means, Modern has produced a trampoline from somewhere and is bouncing up into the clouds while screaming about how much better this is. Patrick looks at Classic with confusion. Classic shrugs apologetically. Modern bounces back down and insists they both try it. Patrick explains he's comfortable just sitting. Modern doesn't process this response. He physically pulls Patrick off the rock and pushes him toward the trampoline while yelling encouragement at maximum volume. Patrick tries to explain again that he just wants to sit. Modern interprets this as Patrick being shy about trying something new and doubles down on the encouragement. He's doing backflips on the trampoline. He's shouting about adventure. He's making it impossible for Patrick to just exist peacefully. Classic suggests maybe they could just go back to regular sitting. Modern gasps like this is the saddest thing he's ever heard. Why would anyone choose boring regular sitting when they could do extreme sitting with rockets? Patrick asks what extreme sitting with rockets means. Modern doesn't know yet, but he's going to figure it out and it's going to be amazing. Patrick looks exhausted. They've been hanging out for 8 minutes. This becomes the pattern. Every single activity Patrick enjoys gets hijacked by Modern's need to make everything extreme. Jellyfishing becomes a timed competition with scoreboards and commentary. Eating becomes a challenge to see who can eat the most the fastest. Sleeping becomes impossible because Modern keeps waking Patrick up to tell him about cool dreams he could be having if he tried harder at sleeping. The breaking point comes during what Patrick later calls the regular sitting conversation. Patrick and Classic are sitting on Patrick's rock doing absolutely nothing. This is Patrick's favorite activity. They've been sitting for 45 minutes without saying a word. It's peaceful. It's perfect. Patrick feels his brain achieving its natural resting state of complete emptiness. Modern shows up and asks what they're doing. Patrick, with the patience of someone who's already explained this 17 times, says they're just sitting. Modern processes this for approximately 2 seconds before his face lights up with terrible inspiration. He announces he has the best idea ever and runs off before anyone can stop him. Classic and Patrick exchange worried looks. 3 minutes later, Modern returns with armfuls of equipment. He's got rockets, fireworks, a megaphone, a disco ball, and what appears to be a live eel. He starts setting everything up around the rock while explaining his vision for extreme sitting. Patrick watches this with the defeated expression of someone who just wants one peaceful afternoon. He looks at Classic and asks if they can maybe hang out when Modern isn't around. Just the two of them. Like they used to. Classic understands immediately. He suggests they go to a different location and not tell Modern. They sneak away while Modern is distracted by trying to attach a rocket to the rock. They find a quiet spot in Jellyfish Fields and sit on a different rock. For 20 glorious minutes, they have peace. Then Modern finds them. He's excited because he KNEW they'd want to see his finished extreme sitting setup. He's attached so many rockets to Patrick's rock that it's now orbiting Bikini Bottom. He thinks this is an improvement. He wants to attach rockets to this rock too. Patrick, in the most exhausted voice possible, says maybe he just wants regular sitting today. Modern doesn't understand the sentence. He asks what regular sitting means. Patrick explains it means sitting without rockets or fireworks or competitions or noise, just sitting quietly with a friend. Modern looks genuinely baffled. He asks why anyone would want that when extreme sitting exists. Patrick tries to explain that sometimes quiet is good. Modern suggests they compromise by doing medium extreme sitting with only half the rockets. Patrick says he doesn't want any rockets. Modern thinks Patrick is joking and laughs. Classic steps in and tries to translate. He explains that Patrick is tired and needs calm activities today. Modern interprets tired as needs more energy and starts doing jumping jacks while chanting about energy. Patrick puts his face in his hands. From that point forward, Patrick starts avoiding Modern whenever possible. He feels guilty about it. Modern is technically his friend, and Modern clearly means well. But Patrick has discovered something important. Friendship shouldn't require this much effort. Hanging out with someone shouldn't leave you more exhausted than when you started. When Patrick hangs out with Classic, he goes home feeling relaxed and happy. When he hangs out with Modern, he goes home feeling like he needs a vacation from his vacation. Classic respects Patrick's pace. Modern doesn't seem to believe pace exists. Patrick starts making excuses when Modern invites him places. He's busy. He's tired. He has to wash his rock. He doesn't know what this means either, but Modern doesn't question it. When Modern shows up unannounced, Patrick pretends he's not home even though his rock is transparent and Modern can clearly see him standing there. The guilt gets worse when Patrick realizes he's actively choosing Classic over Modern. It feels like betrayal. They're both SpongeBob. Why does hanging out with one feel like friendship while hanging out with the other feels like work? Sandy explains it to him one day after Patrick asks if something is wrong with him for preferring quiet activities. She tells him that good friendship should be comfortable, not exhausting. Classic makes space for who Patrick actually is. Modern wants Patrick to be someone more energetic and exciting. One of these approaches is friendship. The other is just someone trying to mold you into their entertainment. Patrick realizes he's just incompatible with someone who treats every interaction like a performance that needs increasingly elaborate staging. The friendship fracture is just Patrick gradually spending less time with Modern and more time with Classic, and feeling exponentially happier as a result. Modern doesn't notice, because Modern doesn't really pay attention to other people's emotional states. He just assumes Patrick is busy and will want to do extreme activities again soon. Classic notices and feels bad for Patrick having to navigate this. He also feels bad that his other self is causing this problem. But mostly he's just glad Patrick is finally choosing his own comfort over performative friendship. Patrick's final thought on the matter, expressed while he and Classic sit on a rock watching clouds in perfect silence: friendship should be easy, not loud. Classic agrees. They continue sitting. A cloud that looks like a pickle floats by. They both point at it and nod. This is enough. Now let's see how Sandy deals with two SpongeBobs. Remember to subscribe to our channel. Sandy's Lab Catastrophe. Sandy Cheeks runs the most advanced scientific research facility in Bikini Bottom out of a tree. She's got rocket ships, experimental growth serums, inventions that violate several laws of physics, and a general commitment to pushing the boundaries of underwater science. Her tree dome is basically a one-squirrel NASA except with more karate and fewer safety regulations. Classic SpongeBob loves visiting Sandy's tree dome. In the episode Sandy's Rocket, when Sandy builds a rocket ship to go to the moon, Classic is immediately fascinated. He begs to come along, trying to fit himself into increasingly small spaces to prove he won't take up much room. He squishes himself into a drawer, jumps into test tubes, even tries to hide in the air vent. Sandy keeps telling him no, because this is science, not fun and games. Classic's enthusiasm here is genuine scientific curiosity. He wants to see the moon. He wants to understand how the rocket works. He wants to be part of the experience. When Sandy finally agrees to let him come but tells him not to touch anything, Classic actually tries to follow this instruction. Sure, he and Patrick sneak onto the rocket later and accidentally launch it, but that comes from wanting to help Sandy by protecting the windows from aliens with spray. The intention is helpful, even if the execution is a disaster. The key difference is that Classic respects what Sandy is trying to do. He understands that her work matters. When he does touch things or make mistakes, it's because he's curious and wants to learn, or because he genuinely misunderstands the situation. In Sandy's Rocket, Classic thinks Bikini Bottom is an alien planet and captures everyone with net guns because he's trying to protect Sandy and bring her evidence. He's wrong, obviously catastrophically wrong, but his heart is in the right place. Modern SpongeBob approaches Sandy's tree dome like it's a playground that just happens to have science equipment lying around. The first time Modern offers to help with one of Sandy's experiments, she's working on a perpetual motion machine that's taken her 6 months to calibrate. The device is delicate. It requires precise measurements and absolute stillness during the testing phase. Sandy explains all of this to Modern before she steps away to grab her clipboard. Modern immediately starts touching things, because they look fun to touch. There are buttons, there are levers, there's a spinning thing that makes a cool noise when you tap it. Modern taps it. The perpetual motion machine begins smoking. Sandy runs back in and manages to shut it down before it explodes, but 3 months of calibration data is lost. Sandy takes a deep breath and explains that in science, you can't just touch things randomly. You have to understand what they do first. Modern nods enthusiastically and promises he won't touch anything else. Sandy turns back to her clipboard. Modern touches something else. This pattern repeats across multiple visits. Sandy invites Modern to observe an experiment. Modern gets bored watching and decides to make it more interesting by adding his own variables. Sandy is testing the aerodynamics of a miniature helicopter. Modern throws it like a frisbee to see if that makes it fly better. It doesn't. It crashes into Sandy's chemistry set and causes a small fire. Sandy is testing the strength of a new material she synthesized. The test requires gradually increasing pressure until the material reaches its breaking point. Modern decides to help by jumping on it immediately to see what happens. The material shatters, along with the pressure gauge, along with Sandy's patience. The most catastrophic incident involves Sandy's experimental growth serum. This is related to but separate from the Krabby Patty growth serum incident. Sandy has been working on a formula to help plants grow in harsh environments. She's been testing it on a small flower sample for weeks, carefully documenting growth rates and adjusting the formula. The sample sits in a sealed container with very specific environmental controls. Modern visits and asks what Sandy is working on. She explains the growth serum project and shows him the flower sample. She explicitly states that the serum must be administered in precise amounts under controlled conditions. Modern nods and asks if he can help. Sandy, having learned her lesson from previous incidents, politely says no and suggests Modern can help by simply observing today. Modern agrees. Sandy steps into her office to print out her latest data. Modern stares at the sealed container for approximately 15 seconds before deciding that the flower looks sad and probably needs more serum to be happier. He opens the container, dumps the entire remaining supply of serum onto the flower, and reseals the container. Sandy returns with her data to find the flower has grown to the size of her entire tree dome and is actively breaking through the glass dome. Weeks of work destroyed, the tree dome structure compromised, the flower sample completely unusable for further testing because there's no way to isolate what went wrong when someone dumps 90 times the recommended dosage onto it. Modern doesn't understand why Sandy is upset. He was just trying to help the flower grow, and it grew really well. Isn't that what she wanted? Sandy explains through gritted teeth that science requires controlled conditions and following instructions. Modern argues that he made it better because the flower is way bigger now. Sandy officially bans Modern from the tree dome. She puts a sign on the door. Classic SpongeBob. Welcome anytime. Other SpongeBob. Appointment required with signed safety waiver and proof of insurance. When Modern asks why he needs an appointment when Classic doesn't, Sandy explains that Classic listens to instructions. Classic asks questions when he doesn't understand something. Classic respects that her work has value and shouldn't be interfered with casually. Modern argues that he listens to instructions too. Sandy pulls out a list she's been keeping. 17 separate incidents of Modern touching things after being told not to touch things. 8 experiments ruined. 4 small fires. 1 medium fire. 1 incident where Modern somehow got stuck inside a piece of equipment that wasn't designed to have people inside it. The difference between them becomes crystal clear through these incidents. Classic helps with Sandy's science because he wants to understand it and be part of the discovery. Modern helps with Sandy's science because he wants to make things happen faster and more exciting, regardless of whether that aligns with the actual scientific goals. Classic's mistakes come from enthusiasm exceeding knowledge. Modern's mistakes come from enthusiasm exceeding awareness that other people's work has purpose beyond entertainment. Classic feels bad when he messes something up and tries to help fix it. Modern feels confused about why everyone's upset when he was just making things more fun. Sandy eventually explains it to Patrick after he asks why she still lets Classic visit but not Modern. She tells him that genuine curiosity is welcome in science, even when it leads to mistakes. But chaos disguised as helping is just chaos. Classic wants to learn. Modern wants to play. Her Treatome is a laboratory, not a playground. Patrick asks if that means he can't visit anymore either, since he definitely falls more into the chaos category. Sandy laughs and says Patrick is actually fine, because Patrick asks before touching things and accepts no for an answer. Patrick is chaotic, but he's respectfully chaotic. Modern overhears this conversation and still doesn't understand. He thinks Sandy is just being mean and not appreciating his help. He doesn't grasp that repeatedly destroying someone's work isn't help, regardless of how enthusiastic you are while doing it. Classic feels bad that his other self caused these problems and apologizes to Sandy on Modern's behalf. Sandy tells him he doesn't need to apologize for someone else's actions. She appreciates that Classic actually respects boundaries, even if he sometimes struggles with impulse control. There's a difference between accidentally causing problems while trying to help and deliberately ignoring instructions because you think your way is better. The Treatome ban stands. Modern is allowed back only under direct supervision, with nothing within reach that can explode, break, or grow uncontrollably. These conditions prove impossible to meet, so Modern just stops visiting. He doesn't understand why Sandy doesn't want him around anymore, but he's too distracted by other things to dwell on it. Sandy returns to her work, grateful she only has to deal with one SpongeBob in her lab now. Now let's see how both SpongeBobs plan out for this best friend's birthday. The birthday disaster. Patrick Star's birthday falls on August 19th. Classic SpongeBob has been planning this party for 3 weeks. He knows exactly what Patrick wants because he actually asked Patrick what Patrick wants, which is apparently a revolutionary concept in party planning. Patrick wants a small gathering. Just him, SpongeBob, Sandy, and maybe Squidward. If he's feeling social, he won't be, but the invitation is polite. Patrick wants ice cream cake from the Krusty Krab freezer. He wants to play pin the tail on the seahorse. He wants to sit around afterward and talk about nothing while eating chips. This is Patrick's ideal birthday. Low effort, high comfort, zero stress. Classic starts preparing 3 days before. He orders Patrick's favorite ice cream cake vanilla with chocolate chunks because Patrick once said that's what happiness tastes like. He buys streamers in Patrick's favorite shade of green. He makes a birthday card by hand with a drawing of them as superheroes. The drawing isn't particularly good, but it's personal and thoughtful. The party is scheduled for 2 p.m. at Patrick's Rock. Classic arrives at 1:30 to set up. He hangs the streamers carefully, arranges the snacks, and puts the cake in a cooler. Everything is simple, organized, and exactly what Patrick asked for. Classic surveys his work with satisfaction. This is going to be a good birthday. Modern SpongeBob arrives at 1:45. Classic didn't invite Modern. This wasn't meant to be cruel. He just knows Modern's idea of fun tends to overwhelm Patrick, and this party is supposed to be relaxing. But Modern heard about it through Squidward and decided to show up with improvements. Modern takes one look at Classic's setup and audibly gasps. He asks if this is really the whole party. Classic explains that yes, this is what Patrick wanted. Modern looks genuinely distressed. He says that won't do it all. Patrick deserves something epic. Something legendary. Something people will talk about for years. Classic tries to explain that Patrick specifically requested a simple party. Modern waves this off. Patrick only thinks he wants a simple party because he doesn't know how amazing an epic party could be. Classic attempts to physically block Modern from touching anything. Modern dodges around him and starts making changes. First, Modern replaces Classic's careful green decorations with every color available in chaotic patterns. He adds hundreds of balloons that block out the sun. Patrick's rock is no longer visible under the balloon mountain. Classic asks Modern to please stop. Modern says he's just getting started. Modern pushes Classic's carefully arranged chips and cookies aside and starts piling on extreme foods. Ghost pepper nachos, jellyfish jelly shots, something that's still moving. The table groans under the weight. Classic rescues the birthday cake before Modern can touch it. Then Modern notices the pin the tail on the seahorse game. He asks if they're really going to play a baby game at Patrick's party. Classic says this is Patrick's favorite game. Modern shakes his head and pulls out extreme pin the tail, which involves blindfolds, spinning, and what looks like a real seahorse that seems upset about being here. Classic is now actively trying to stop Modern, but Modern has too much momentum. He's setting up obstacle courses, arranging a mechanical bull made out of sea urchins, and testing a confetti cannon that shoots with enough force to dent metal. Classic begs him to stop. Modern says Patrick is going to love this. Sandy arrives at 1:55. She takes one look at the chaos and asks what in tarnation happened to the simple party Classic told her about. Classic points at Modern, who's now trying to set up a zip line between Patrick's rock and Squidward's house. Patrick arrives at 2 p.m. exactly. He's wearing a little party hat and has a big smile on his face. He walks up to his rock and stops. He stares at the balloon mountain, the extreme decorations, the obstacle course, the confused seahorse, and the mechanical urchin bull. His smile falters. Patrick asks if this is his party. Modern jumps out from behind the balloon pile and yells, "Surprise." Patrick looks overwhelmed. He asks where the regular decorations went. Modern explains he upgraded them to extreme decorations. Patrick asks about Pin the Tail on the seahorse. Modern says they're playing extreme, Pin the Tail now. Patrick quietly asks if they can just play regular, Pin the Tail, and eat regular cake. Modern laughs and says, sure, after they do all the epic stuff first. He hits a button and the party officially begins. Fireworks explode. The confetti cannon fires directly into the snack table, obliterating the food. The mechanical urchin bull activates and starts ramming into things. The seahorse breaks free and starts galloping around in panic. Everything descends into chaos instantly. The fireworks are too close to the balloons. Balloons start popping in rapid succession like underwater gunfire. The zipline snaps and crashes into the obstacle course. The obstacle course collapses onto the present table, crushing Patrick's gifts under debris. Sandy tries to contain the mechanical bull. Classic tries to catch the seahorse. Patrick just stands there watching his birthday party literally explode around him. The cake table catches fire from a stray firework. Classic lunges for the cake and manages to save it, but Modern trips over the cooler and the cake flies out of Classic's hands. It hits the ground upside down. Ice cream and chocolate chunks splatter everywhere. Patrick stares at his destroyed cake. The cake Classic spent 3 weeks planning for. It's now a melted puddle soaking into the sand. Patrick starts crying. Not loud, dramatic crying. Quiet, sad, crying. He sits down next to his destroyed cake. Classic immediately runs over and sits next to him, apologizing repeatedly. He explains he tried to stop Modern but couldn't. He promises they can get another cake, have another party, do whatever Patrick wants. Patrick just leans against Classic. Modern finally notices something is wrong. He walks over and asks why Patrick is crying. He sounds genuinely confused. Classic looks at him with an expression somewhere between exhaustion and rage. He says Patrick is crying because his party is ruined. Modern looks around at the destroyed decorations, the crushed presents, the melted cake, and the general devastation. Modern says he made it more fun. Classic stares at him. He gestures at Patrick, who is still crying. He asks how this is fun when Patrick is literally crying. Modern says sometimes people cry when they're overwhelmed with joy. Classic says this is very obviously not joy crying. Modern insists Patrick will appreciate it later once he realizes how epic everything was. Patrick looks up at Modern with tears still on his face. He asks why things can't just be nice anymore. Why does everything have to be extreme and loud and chaotic? He just wanted a simple birthday with his best friend and some ice cream cake. He didn't want explosions or mechanical bulls. He wanted nice, quiet, normal. Modern still doesn't get it. He says normal is boring and Patrick deserves better than boring. Patrick says normal isn't boring. Normal is what would have made him happy. Sandy finally manages to wrangle the mechanical bull and tells Modern in very clear terms that he needs to leave. Modern argues he was just trying to help make Patrick's birthday special. Sandy says he didn't help. He made it a disaster. Modern looks genuinely hurt, but still doesn't understand what he did wrong. Modern leaves. muttering about how nobody appreciates effort anymore. Classic stays with Patrick. They sit in silence for a while, surrounded by debris. Eventually, Sandy suggests they salvage what they can and have a proper party at her treedome tomorrow. Patrick agrees quietly. He asks Classic if tomorrow can just be the three of them. Just simple and nice like it was supposed to be. Classic promises that's exactly what it'll be. They spend the next hour cleaning up Modern's mess. Patrick finds one gift that survived the handmade card from Classic. He opens it carefully and looks at the drawing of them as superheroes. Despite everything, he laughs. He says this is actually the best gift he could have gotten. The next day, they have a redo party at Sandy's treedome. Just the three of them. There's a replacement ice cream cake. They play pin the tail on the seahorse. They sit around afterward eating chips and talking about nothing. It's simple, quiet, and exactly what Patrick wanted. Patrick says this is perfect. This is what birthdays should be. Sandy mentions that Modern still doesn't understand why everyone was upset with him. Patrick shrugs and says maybe some people just don't understand that the best things are usually the simplest things. Classic realizes Patrick is absolutely right, and that's why Patrick is exhausted by Modern's constant chaos, because Modern can't comprehend that sometimes doing less is actually doing more. Moving on, let's see how Bikini Bottom reacts to two SpongeBobs. Community division. Bikini Bottom has approximately 5,000 residents, and within 3 weeks of the Great SpongeBob Duplication event, the entire town splits into factions like it's the Hunger Games, but with more seafood. Welcome to Civil War Bikini Bottom Edition. Mrs. Puff draws the first line in the sand. Classic fails her driving tests constantly because he has the hand-eye coordination of a goldfish having a panic attack, but he actually listens during lectures. When Mrs. Puff explains brake versus gas for the 800th time, Classic takes notes. He asks questions that prove his brain is attempting to process information. Modern treats driving lessons like he's auditioning for America's Got Talent. He makes engine noises instead of listening. When he crashes, he laughs like property damages improv comedy. Mrs. Puff bans him after he turns a parallel parking lesson into a musical number that ends with 3 boats in the lighthouse and her classroom on fire. Pearl Krabs finds both SpongeBobs annoying. Classic tries too hard to be cool around her friends, but at least when she tells him to back off, he backs off. He reads her facial expressions like subtitles. Modern doesn't read anything. Pearl can be giving him the death glare while her friends physically turn away, and Modern will interpret this as everyone being shy. Pearl tells her dad she prefers Classic because at least Classic knows when he's being annoying. Larry the Lobster respects Classic for showing up at the gym regularly despite having the muscle mass of wet pasta. Classic asks for fitness advice and follows it. Modern tries to turn everything into a competition or Broadway production. When Larry corrects his form, Modern insists his way is more fun. Larry stops trying. But here's the twist. Some fish actively prefer Modern. They find his chaos entertaining. They think Classic is boring like unsalted crackers. These Modern supporters tend to be younger fish, tourists, or people who don't deal with the aftermath. They see Modern making a scene and laugh. They don't see Classic staying late to fix the damage. Business owners who deal with property damage prefer Classic. Parents prefer Classic because Modern disrupts classes. People who value peace prefer Classic. But people who find routine boring prefer Modern. They're the audience watching reality TV, except it's someone else's actual life. The divide becomes visible fast. The Bargain Mart bans Modern. The teen club specifically requests Modern for events. Mrs. Puff's boating school has a restraining order against Modern. The arcade gives Modern free tokens because he brings in crowds. Bikini Bottom has chosen sides. Classic supporters value stability. Modern supporters value entertainment. These are incompatible priorities. One group wants peace, the other wants chaos. One group lives with the consequences, the other leaves when things get messy. Now let's see how Modern SpongeBob is doing. Modern's improvement campaign. Modern SpongeBob has an epiphany one morning while staring at his reflection in a puddle of spilled soda. The puddle is there because he tried to drink from a cup while doing a backflip. Don't ask. The epiphany goes something like this. Classic SpongeBob is boring. Objectively, tragically, catastrophically boring. And as the obviously superior version, Modern has a responsibility to help Classic become more fun. This is like if the Kool-Aid Man decided regular water needed a personality intervention. Modern genuinely believes he's about to do Classic the biggest favor of his life. He's going to teach Classic how to be exciting and spontaneous and memorable. He's going to show Classic that life doesn't have to be about following rules and being competent. Competence is for people without imagination. Modern is basically about to launch an unsolicited makeover show, except the person getting made over didn't sign up and actively doesn't want this. The campaign begins with Squidward, because Modern has the strategic planning skills of someone who's never heard the phrase "read the room." Classic and Squidward have a very specific relationship. Squidward hates Classic, but it's a managed hate. They've reached an equilibrium where Classic knows exactly how much annoyance Squidward will tolerate before he snaps, and Classic carefully stays just below that line. When Classic visits Squidward, he knocks, waits for permission, which he never gets, but at least he waits, and leaves when told to leave. The system works because Classic respects boundaries even when he's crossing them. Modern decides this relationship needs excitement. He watches Classic knock on Squidward's door one morning and get the door slammed in his face per usual. Classic shrugs and walks away. Modern sees this and thinks, "Wow, that looked depressing. Better fix it." Modern knocks on Squidward's door 30 seconds later. Squidward opens it looking annoyed because he thinks Classic came back. Before Squidward can say anything, Modern announces he's brought friendship activities to make their relationship more fun. He's got a karaoke machine. He's got matching friendship bracelets. He's got a tandem bicycle built for two. Where did he get this stuff? Does it matter? No. Squidward tries to close the door. Modern sticks his foot in it like a door-to-door salesman who's read exactly one sales technique book and decided that was enough. He starts explaining his vision for their friendship. More music, more activities, more togetherness. Squidward is physically recoiling like Modern is made of radiation. Classic walks by and sees this happening. He immediately tries to intervene, apologizing to Squidward and attempting to pull Modern away. Modern resists because he's not done helping yet. Squidward slams the door so hard it comes off the hinges. The door falls on Classic. Modern thinks this is hilarious and suggests they turn door dodging into a game. Classic spends the next hour helping Squidward reattach his door while apologizing profusely. Squidward doesn't say anything, just glares at Classic like this is somehow his fault. Because from Squidward's perspective, both SpongeBobs are equally responsible for his suffering. The nuance of one tried to respect boundaries while the other treated your home like a theme park is lost when you're holding your door that shouldn't need to be held. Modern watches this and decides the problem is that Classic isn't committing enough to the fun. Clearly they need to go bigger. The next target is Sandy's lab, because Modern has apparently decided to speedrun destroying every positive relationship Classic has. Sandy's working on a new invention, some kind of atmospheric pressure regulator that could help underwater creatures survive on land longer. She's been working on it for 2 months. The calculations are complex. The engineering is delicate. One wrong adjustment could cause the whole thing to explode or just not work and waste 2 months of research. Classic stops by to see how it's going. Sandy explains the project while Classic listens with genuine interest, asking questions that show he's trying to understand the science. He offers to help with basic tasks like organizing tools or cleaning beakers. Sandy appreciates this because Classic's help is actually helpful. He follows instructions and doesn't touch things randomly. Modern shows up 20 minutes later like a chaos comet entering orbit. He looks at Sandy's invention, and his first response is, "That's cool, but what if it was cooler?" Sandy, who has developed a sixth sense for incoming disasters, immediately tells Modern to not touch anything. Modern promises he won't touch anything, while actively touching things. Classic tries to escort Modern out. Modern dodges him and starts suggesting improvements. The invention should have lights. It should make noise. It should spin. Sandy very calmly explains that none of those things would improve the functionality and might actively make it worse. Modern says functionality is boring. Aesthetics are what matter. This is the engineering philosophy of someone who's never built anything that needed to work. Sandy tells Modern to leave her tree dome. Modern thinks she's joking. Sandy is not joking. Classic is physically pushing Modern toward the door. Modern grabs onto the invention for leverage. The invention was not designed to be grabbed. Something cracks. Something sparks. Something starts making a noise that inventions should not make. Sandy lunges for the emergency shutoff. The invention powers down before it explodes, but the damage is done. 2 months of work compromised because someone decided to use it as a handle. Sandy is furious. She yells at Modern to get out and never come back. Modern leaves, confused about why everyone's so upset when he was clearly trying to help make things better. Classic stays to help assess the damage. He apologizes roughly 47 times. He offers to help rebuild, recalibrate, whatever Sandy needs. Sandy knows this wasn't Classic's fault, but she's still angry, and that anger has to go somewhere. She tells Classic that maybe he should keep his twin away from her lab. Classic promises he'll try, even though they both know that's basically impossible. Modern decides Patrick and Classic need more excitement in their friendship. He shows up during one of their calm hanging out sessions and announces they're going to do extreme activities from now on. Patrick says he likes regular activities. Modern says that's because Patrick hasn't tried extreme activities. Patrick says he has tried them and they're exhausting. Modern says Patrick just needs to try harder. Classic tries to explain to Modern that not everyone wants everything to be extreme all the time. Modern interprets this as Classic being afraid of fun. He starts scheduling extreme activities without asking anyone's permission. Extreme jellyfishing that results in forest fires. Extreme bubble blowing that blocks out the sun. Extreme rock sitting that somehow involves a catapult. Classic spends his entire existence following behind Modern, cleaning up disasters. Someone's property gets damaged, Classic apologizes and offers to fix it. Someone's experiment gets ruined, Classic apologizes and offers to help rebuild. Someone's day gets destroyed by chaos, Classic apologizes and promises it won't happen again. Except it does happen again, every single time, because Modern doesn't think he's doing anything wrong. He thinks he's improving everyone's lives by making them more exciting. The fact that people keep getting angry just means they don't understand fun yet. Spoiler alert, they understand fun just fine. This isn't it. The community starts losing the ability to distinguish between the two SpongeBobs. Sure, one of them is causing the problems and the other is trying to fix them, but they're both yellow, both wear the same clothes, and both show up to every disaster scene. From a distance, they look identical. From up close, when you're angry and your business is on fire, you're not checking which one is which before you start yelling. Business owners start blaming both SpongeBobs for property damage. Parents start blaming both SpongeBobs for disrupting their kids' education. Squidward starts yelling at whichever SpongeBob he sees first, regardless of whether that one actually did anything wrong. The both sides mentality kicks in fast. Classic tries to explain he's not the one causing the problems. People don't want to hear it. They just want SpongeBob, any SpongeBob, both SpongeBobs to leave them alone. The apology tour doesn't work when new disasters keep happening faster than you can apologize for the old ones. Mrs. Puff perfectly summarizes the community's frustration during a town hall meeting called specifically to address the SpongeBob situation. She says that she knows one of them is trying to be responsible and the other is a walking disaster, but when disasters keep happening at this frequency, intent stops mattering. The result is the same: chaos, property damage, and disrupted lives. Sandy points out that punishing both of them for one person's actions is unfair. Mr. Krabs, who's been keeping detailed financial records of damage costs, responds that Fair doesn't pay his repair bills. Several other business owners nod in agreement. Classic sits in the audience feeling the weight of being held responsible for someone else's actions, while being powerless to stop those actions from happening. Modern sits in the audience confused about why everyone's so upset when he's clearly made Bikini Bottom way more interesting than it used to be. Patrick sums it up in his own unique way during a conversation with Classic afterward. He says that having two SpongeBobs sounded good in theory because two friends means twice the friendship. Turns out, one SpongeBob is a friend and the other is a natural disaster with a personality. Unfortunately, everyone's starting to treat them as the same category of problem. Classic realizes his reputation is being destroyed by association. Everything he's built over years of genuine effort and care is getting undermined by someone who shares his face. Every relationship he's carefully maintained is suffering collateral damage from someone else's chaos. The worst part? Modern thinks he's helping. He genuinely believes he's doing Classic a favor by making his life more exciting. He doesn't understand that Classic's life was fine before. Classic didn't need improvement. Classic needed to be left alone to maintain the relationships he'd already built. But Modern can't conceive of a world where his version of fun isn't universal. So the campaign continues, disaster after disaster, with Modern remaining completely oblivious to the damage he's causing. He genuinely expects everyone to thank him eventually. The town is getting tired of being improved without consent. Something's going to snap. Modern just hasn't noticed yet. The public explosion. The Krusty Krab at noon on a Wednesday is a war zone. Every table is full. The line extends out the door. Mr. Krabs is somewhere in his office counting money and probably weeping tears of joy about the lunch rush revenue. Squidward is at the register looking like he's contemplating faking his own death. Again, Classic SpongeBob has been working the grill for 3 hours straight. He's in the zone, that beautiful flow state where muscle memory takes over and Krabby Patties appear like magic. Bun, patty, flip, condiments, deliver, repeat. The orders are coming in fast, but Classic handles it because this is what he does. This is what he's always done. He's a professional. Modern SpongeBob arrives for his afternoon shift 17 minutes early because apparently punctuality is just another thing he has to make extreme. He bursts through the kitchen door wearing his red headband and carrying what appears to be a megaphone. Where did he get a megaphone? Why does he have a megaphone? These questions will not be answered. Classic sees Modern and feels his eye twitch. That's new. The eye twitch started about 2 weeks ago, right around the time Modern decided that Classic's cooking method was too boring and needed improvement suggestions. Classic has been ignoring the suggestions. Classic has been ignoring a lot of things lately because the alternative is a mental breakdown, and he's trying to hold that off until at least Thursday. Modern surveys the packed restaurant like a general surveying a battlefield. He's got that look on his face, the look that means he's had an idea. Classic recognizes that look. That look has preceded every major disaster in the past month. Classic prays to Neptune that Modern will just let him finish the lunch rush in peace. Neptune is not listening today. Modern announces to the entire restaurant that he's going to revolutionize the dining experience. He's going to make everything faster and more fun. Several customers look intrigued. Squidward looks like he's trying to astral project out of his body. Classic feels his other eye start twitching. Both eyes are twitching now. This is fine. Everything is fine. Modern grabs the megaphone and starts calling out orders at maximum volume like he's a sports announcer. Classic tries to explain that he can hear the order tickets just fine without amplification. Modern insists amplification makes everything more exciting. A customer near the megaphone starts bleeding from the ears. Not literally. Probably. Then Modern decides the kitchen layout is inefficient. He starts moving equipment around while Classic is actively using it. The grill gets shifted 3 feet to the left. The spatula holder gets relocated to the ceiling for some reason. The condiment station becomes an interactive condiment experience which seems to involve juggling mustard bottles. Classic asks Modern to please stop moving things. Modern says he's optimizing the workspace. Classic points out the workspace was already optimized through years of experience. Modern dismisses experience as being stuck in a rut. Classic's eye twitching intensifies to the point where he looks like he's receiving Morse code through his eyelids. A customer orders a simple Krabby Patty with extra pickles. Classic starts making it. Modern intercepts the order and announces this customer deserves the ultimate Krabby Patty experience. Before Classic can stop him, Modern has turned a straightforward order into a 7-minute production involving a song, a dance number, and what appears to be pyrotechnics. The restaurant smells like smoke. The customer just wanted extra pickles. They did not ask for their lunch to have a 3-act structure. Classic has been holding frustration for weeks. 3 weeks of cleaning up disasters. 3 weeks of apologizing for things he didn't do. 3 weeks of watching his reputation get demolished by someone who shares his face. 3 weeks of everyone in Bikini Bottom treating both SpongeBobs like they're equally responsible for the chaos. The frustration has been building like pressure in a cartoon boiler. Classic has been professional. He's been patient. He's been understanding. He's been everything Mr. Krabs wanted in an employee, and everything Bikini Bottom needed in a neighbor. Modern tosses a Krabby Patty in the air. It's supposed to be a cool trick. The patty hits the ceiling fan. The fan distributes ground beef across the entire restaurant like the world's worst confetti. A child starts crying. Squidward starts laughing in a way that suggests he's finally broken. Mr. Krabs emerges from his office to see his restaurant covered in meat and his customers covered in meat juice. And classic SpongeBob, who has never raised his voice in anger at work, who has never lost his temper during a rush, who has maintained professionalism through every challenge the Krusty Krab has ever thrown at him, finally snaps. He doesn't snap quietly. Classic crosses the kitchen in 3 steps, grabs Modern by the shoulders, and starts shaking him. Not gentle shaking. Violent, furious, can you spare a dime, level shaking where someone's soul is about to exit their body through force. In that episode, SpongeBob throttled Mr. Krabs by the throat, while screaming with bloodshot eyes and cowbells played in the background. This is that energy. This is that level of fury. Classic is shaking Modern so hard that Modern's headband comes off. The entire restaurant goes silent. Even the crying child stops crying to watch. Squidward pulls out his phone to record this, because he's not missing this moment for anything. Classic starts listing everything Modern has destroyed while shaking him with each item. He's been holding this in for weeks, and it's coming out now with the force of a dam breaking. The friendship with Squidward, shake. The friendship with Sandy, shake. The friendship with Patrick, shake. Getting Classic banned from Mrs. Puff's boating school, shake. Ruining Patrick's birthday, shake. Destroying Sandy's months of research, shake. Making the entire town think Classic is responsible for Modern's disasters, shake. Classic's eyes are wide and bloodshot. The bloodshot eyes are a direct reference to the Can You Spare a Dime scene where SpongeBob completely loses it on Mr. Krabs. His voice is getting louder with each accusation. The shaking is getting more intense. Modern's body is moving in ways that bodies probably shouldn't move. Classic accuses Modern of never listening, never learning, never caring about anyone but himself. Modern, currently being shaken like a protein shake, manages to gasp out his defense about trying to make everyone happy. Classic stops shaking. The sudden stillness is somehow more terrifying than the shaking. He's staring at Modern with an expression that could probably kill small fish. His voice drops to something quiet and dangerous. He asks how destroying everything makes people happy. Modern tries to respond. Classic doesn't let him. He's been waiting weeks to say this, and he's going to say all of it. Classic explains that Modern thinks he's making things better, but he's making everything worse. Modern thinks he's helping, but he's destroying. People don't see the difference between them, they see SpongeBob. When Modern destroys something, both of them get blamed. When Modern ruins something, Classic apologizes. When Modern causes chaos, Classic cleans it up. The restaurant is silent. You could hear a pin drop. You could hear a dime drop. Given that they're in the Krusty Krab, Mr. Krabs would definitely hear a dime drop. Every customer is watching. Every fish has stopped eating. This is better than television. This is reality TV, except it's actually reality. Classic's voice cracks slightly. He talks about spending weeks fixing what Modern breaks, apologizing for what Modern does, watching everything he built get torn down because Modern thinks fun is more important than people's lives. Modern doesn't ask what people want. He doesn't listen when they say no. He just does things and expects everyone to thank him for it. Nobody is thanking him. Nobody wants his help. They want him to stop. Modern looks genuinely shocked, like this has never occurred to him before. Like the concept that his actions have consequences is a brand new revelation. He tries to say something about just wanting to make things exciting. Classic cuts him off. He talks about the people whose lives Modern is ruining. Sandy, who lost 2 months of research. Patrick, who cried at his own birthday party. Squidward, who can't have one peaceful day. The town that has to deal with chaos because Modern thinks chaos is entertainment. The silence in the restaurant is deafening. Mr. Krabs is standing in the doorway of his office, money forgotten, just watching. Squidward has tears in his eyes, but for once they might be happy tears. The customers are processing what they just witnessed. Modern tries to say he didn't know. Classic interrupts. That's the problem. Modern never knows, because he never looks. He never pays attention. He never considers that maybe people are telling him to stop for a reason. Classic lets go of Modern. Modern stumbles back. Classic takes a deep breath, and for the first time in weeks, he looks directly at Modern with complete clarity. Classic tells Modern that if he wants to help, if he wants to make things better, then he needs to stop. Stop improving things that don't need improvement. Stop helping people who didn't ask for help. Stop making everything about his version of fun, and start considering that other people exist with their own needs and wants. The lunch rush is completely forgotten. The food is cold, the orders are backed up, nobody cares. This is history happening. This is the moment everyone's been waiting for since the second SpongeBob showed up. Modern stands there, headband in hand, looking smaller than he's ever looked. Classic turns back to the grill without another word. He starts making Krabby Patties again like nothing happened. Like he didn't just verbally destroy someone in front of 40 witnesses. The restaurant slowly comes back to life. People start eating again. Squidward stops recording. Mr. Krabs goes back to his office. But everything has changed. Everyone just watched classic SpongeBob patient, professional, kind, classic SpongeBob completely lose it. And everyone understands why. Modern stands in the middle of the kitchen, holding his headband, finally processing that maybe his version of helping isn't actually helping at all. The lunch rush continues. Classic cooks. Modern stands there. And Bikini Bottom just witnessed the breaking point of someone who tried so hard to be patient that he finally couldn't be patient anymore. Now we'll look at how Mr. Krabs deals with all this. But if you're enjoying the video so far, subscribe to our channel. The ultimatum. Mr. Krabs calls an emergency staff meeting at closing time on Thursday. Emergency staff meetings at the Krusty Krab are rare because they cost Mr. Krabs money. The last one was in 2003 when Plankton almost stole the formula. Classic, Modern, and Squidward sit in the dining area while Mr. Krabs stands at the front with a calculator, a spreadsheet, and the facial expression of someone about to save money. Mr. Krabs announces that the 2 SpongeBob experiment has failed. Classic's morning shift. 17% increase in customer satisfaction, 0 property damage. Modern's afternoon shift. 42% decrease in customer satisfaction, 8 property damage incidents in 3 weeks, 7 health code violations, and 1 attempted lawsuit. The math is simple. 1 SpongeBob has to go. Squidward looks happier than he's been in years. He's literally smiling, because he knows exactly which SpongeBob is getting fired. Classic looks uncomfortable, Modern is about to lose his job, and Classic is too nice to feel good about that, even though Modern deserves it. Modern looks confused. He still doesn't understand what he did wrong. Mr. Krabs opens the floor to testimonies. He's treating this like a trial, except the verdict is already decided. Squidward goes first with a full PowerPoint presentation titled A Comparative Analysis of SpongeBob Variants and Their Impact on My Will to Live. Squidward's testimony covers the door incident, the boundary violations, and the contrast with Classic, who at least leaves when told to leave. He's got charts, graphs, and a Venn diagram showing things Classic does that annoy him versus things Modern does that make him consider moving to another ocean. The second circle is significantly larger. Squidward's recommendation: keep Classic, fire Modern. Sandy goes next with literal receipts for the equipment Modern destroyed. 2 months of research gone because Modern decided an atmospheric pressure regulator needed to be more fun. Mr. Krabs visibly winces when Sandy mentions the cost of replacement parts. Sandy vouches for Classic. He's helped with her experiments for years without breaking anything. Mrs. Puff submits her testimony in writing because she's not attending in person. 3 pages long and includes a restraining order against Modern. She's banned Modern from her boating school permanently. Classic is still welcome because his driving failures are predictable. Modern's failures somehow involve musical numbers and structural damage to lighthouses. The customer testimonies come next. Mr. Krabs has been collecting feedback cards for 3 weeks. Classic's morning shift feedback: positive, professional. Modern's afternoon shift feedback: chaotic, overwhelming, please make it stop. One customer wrote an entire essay about how their simple lunch order turned into a 15-minute theatrical experience. Another customer's feedback card just says why in increasingly large letters. Then come Modern's defenders, 4 people, out of an entire town. A teenager who thinks Modern is hilarious, a tourist who was only in Bikini Bottom for 2 days, a fish who runs a demolition company and appreciates Modern's ability to destroy property quickly, and Patrick, who says Modern is his friend and friends don't give up on friends. Classic feels his heart break because Patrick is defending Modern out of loyalty. Patrick is exhausted by Modern but too loyal to say it out loud. Mr. Krabs makes a show of calculating things before announcing his decision. Modern SpongeBob is fired from the Krusty Krab, effective immediately. Modern stands up and announces that everyone will see they were wrong. He was just trying to help. Someday they'll appreciate what he was trying to do. Modern insists he was making the Krusty Krab more exciting and people just couldn't handle that much fun. He claims he was ahead of his time. He says people will eventually get tired of Classic. Nobody responds, because what do you even say to someone that detached from reality? Modern grabs his spatula, puts on his headband, and walks out. Classic sits at his table feeling guilty. He knows Modern deserved to be fired, but watching someone get fired who looks exactly like you creates weird emotional complications. Classic also feels relieved, which makes him feel more guilty. He won't have to clean up Modern's messes anymore. His reputation might slowly recover. Squidward has no such conflict. Squidward is experiencing pure joy. He asks Mr. Krabs if the afternoon shift will be quiet now. Mr. Krabs confirms it will be. Squidward actually laughs. Sandy tells Classic this was the right decision. Classic did nothing wrong. Modern's firing is a consequence of Modern's actions. Patrick looks sad. He understands why Modern was fired, but he feels bad about it anyway. Mr. Krabs dismisses the meeting. The Krusty Krab is now a one SpongeBob operation again. Modern walks through Bikini Bottom unemployed and convinced everyone wronged him. He passes by businesses that have banned him and doesn't connect the dots. He sees fish who avoid eye contact and assumes they're shy. Classic goes home that night and sits with Gary. He tries to explain that Modern getting fired wasn't his fault. Gary meows responses that sound increasingly judgmental until Classic admits maybe he could have done more, maybe he does feel relieved, maybe that makes him a bad person. The next morning, Classic shows up to work, and the Krusty Krab feels different, quieter, calmer. Squidward is actually smiling. Customers are eating peacefully. Classic makes Krabby Patties the way he's always made them. Efficiently, professionally, correctly. For the first time in 3 weeks, Classic feels like he can breathe. But this relief comes with a darker question hanging over it. Modern is now unemployed with unlimited free time and zero understanding of why everyone's upset with him. Classic has structure and routine, keeping him busy. Modern has nothing but hours to fill and a burning need to prove everyone wrong about him. Classic's life is about to get better. He'll get promoted. His friendships will heal. The community will remember who he actually is, beyond the chaos Modern caused. Modern's life is about to get worse. Much worse. When you're fired from the one place that gave you purpose, and you're convinced the firing was unjust, and you have no ability to self-reflect or adjust your behavior, you spiral. And when you spiral with Modern's energy level and complete lack of boundaries, everyone around you gets caught in the gravitational pull. The question hanging over Bikini Bottom becomes, what does Modern do next? Does he finally realize he needs to change? Does he find another job and repeat the same patterns? Does he accept that maybe everyone else isn't the problem? Spoiler alert, Modern doesn't do any of those things, because accepting responsibility would require the one skill Modern has never developed and shows no signs of developing self-awareness. Classic will try to help. Of course he will. Classic is fundamentally a good person who feels guilty even when things aren't his fault. He'll watch Modern struggle and feel terrible about it. He'll convince himself that maybe with clear boundaries and explicit conditions, Modern might finally understand. Classic will be wrong about this. You can't force someone to grow who doesn't think they need growing. But Classic doesn't know that yet. Right now, Classic is just enjoying his first peaceful morning shift in weeks, making Krabby Patties the correct way, watching customers smile, hearing Squidward hum while working the register. Right now, Classic thinks maybe the worst is over. He has no idea that the worst hasn't even started yet. Because Modern without a job is about to become everyone's problem, and Classic, despite his best efforts to move on, is about to get pulled back into trying to fix what cannot be fixed. You can fire someone from a restaurant. You can't fire them from existing in your town, living next door to your neighbor, and showing up uninvited to everything you care about. The Krusty Krab has one SpongeBob again, but Bikini Bottom still has two, and one of them just got a whole lot of free time to prove everyone wrong. Classic's path forward. The first Monday after Modern gets fired, Mr. Krabs calls Classic into his office. Classic immediately assumes he's in trouble, because that's what years of working for Mr. Krabs has conditioned him to expect. Nobody gets called into Mr. Krabs' office for good news. But Mr. Krabs has an announcement. Classic is being promoted to assistant manager. The promotion comes with a 5% raise, which Mr. Krabs acts like he's donating a kidney over, an actual authority to make decisions about the restaurant's daily operations. Classic will still cook because that's what he does best, but now he'll also handle scheduling, inventory, and making sure Squidward doesn't fake his own death to get out of work. Classic accepts the promotion with genuine gratitude. Mr. Krabs shakes his hand and immediately ruins the moment by explaining the raise comes with additional responsibilities that definitely are not worth 5%. The restaurant runs smoothly now, like a machine that's been properly oiled instead of repeatedly set on fire. Customers come in, order food, receive the correct food, and leave satisfied. This is apparently revolutionary. The lunch rush becomes manageable instead of apocalyptic. Classic handles the grill while Squidward works the register without looking like he's contemplating arson. Orders get filled correctly. The health inspector visits and finds 0 violations. The health inspector actually looks disappointed. He was clearly hoping for drama. Mr. Krabs frames the perfect inspection certificate and hangs it on the wall like it's a Picasso. In the episode Employee of the Month, Classic competes with Squidward for the Employee Award. The episode shows Classic's complete dedication to his job. He's won Employee of the Month 26 consecutive times. That's over 2 years of being the best employee every single month. The episode reveals that Classic treats every shift like it matters, every customer like they're important, and every Krabby Patty like it's a work of art. This isn't a character who's faking enthusiasm for a paycheck, but that dedication pays off now. Without Modern's chaos disrupting everything, Classic's competence becomes obvious. He knows every recipe by heart. He can calculate inventory needs in his head. He notices when supplies are running low before they run out. He remembers regular customers' orders. There's a fish who comes in every Tuesday and orders a Krabby Patty with extra pickles, light on the ketchup, and Classic has it ready before the fish finishes walking to the counter. The promotion changes how people see Classic. Before, he was SpongeBob the fry cook, competent but ultimately replaceable. Now he's SpongeBob the assistant manager, someone with actual authority. The title matters less than what it represents. The community seeing Classic as a leader. Patrick notices the difference immediately. When they hang out after work, Patrick mentions how much calmer Classic seems. The past 3 weeks, Classic was constantly stressed about what disaster Modern was causing or would cause next. Now, Classic can actually relax. Their friendship returns to what it was before Modern showed up. They go jellyfishing in jellyfish fields and just enjoy catching jellyfish at whatever pace feels right. They sit on rocks and watch clouds without anyone suggesting they turn it into an extreme sport. They play board games without someone bursting through the wall with rockets. Patrick says something during one of these hangouts that sticks with Classic. Patrick mentions that he'd forgotten what their friendship felt like before Modern arrived. He'd gotten so used to the constant interruptions that quiet companionship felt like a distant memory. Now that it's back, Patrick realizes how exhausted he'd been. Classic apologizes for Modern's behavior. Patrick tells him to stop apologizing for someone else's actions. This is growth for Patrick, who normally has the emotional intelligence of a particularly dumb rock. Patrick once forgot how to eat. Sandy invites Classic back to the Tree Dome. She started a new project, another atmospheric pressure regulator, after Modern destroyed the first one, and she wants Classic's help. Classic is thrilled. He thought Sandy might never trust him in her lab again after the Modern incident, but Sandy makes it clear she knows the difference between them. Sandy explains what she needs, while Classic listens and takes mental notes. She asks him to organize tools in a specific order. He organizes them exactly as requested. She asks him to hand her a wrench. He hands her the correct wrench. She asks him to not touch a particular piece of equipment. He doesn't touch it. This is apparently groundbreaking behavior in Sandy's experience with SpongeBob's. They work together for 3 hours without a single disaster. Sandy finishes a major calculation, and actually thanks Classic for his help. Classic feels like he's won an Olympic medal. Even Squidward becomes almost tolerable. Squidward still hates Classic because Squidward hates everyone, but there's a noticeable decrease in the intensity of that hatred. Squidward no longer flinches when Classic walks into a room. He no longer assumes every Classic interaction will end in disaster. One afternoon, Squidward actually asks Classic about his day. This is unprecedented. Squidward asking about someone else's feelings is like seeing a unicorn. Classic answers cautiously, waiting for the punchline or insult. The punchline never comes. Squidward just nods and goes back to reading his magazine. This is what passes for bonding between them. It's barely tolerance, but it's an improvement from active hostility. The community's perception of Classic shifts too. People who'd started avoiding both SpongeBobs now specifically seek Classic out. Business owners who'd banned SpongeBob clarify that Classic is still welcome. Parents who'd told their kids to stay away from the yellow sponges now explain that the one without the red headband is fine. Mrs. Puff lifts Classic's temporary ban from boating school. She'd instituted a temporary ban on both SpongeBobs after Modern's musical number incident. Collective punishment isn't fair, but it's efficient. She tells Classic he's welcome to resume driving lessons whenever he's ready to fail at driving in predictable, non-musical ways. The Bargain Mart removes their "We reserve the right to refuse service" sign. Everyone knew that sign was specifically about Modern, but having it up made Classic feel unwelcome too. With the sign gone, Classic can grocery shop without feeling like he's about to be escorted out by security. In the episode Neptune's Spatula, Classic pulls the golden spatula from the grease, which, according to legend, means he's the greatest fry cook ever. King Neptune challenges him to a cook-off. Neptune uses magic and flashy techniques to cook a mountain of patties. Classic makes a single perfect Krabby Patty with love and care. Neptune's patties are inedible. Classic's patty is perfect. The episode demonstrates that Classic's strength is genuine care and dedication to doing things right. This becomes obvious in Classic's daily life now. He's not the most exciting person in Bikini Bottom, but he's reliable. He's someone people can count on to do what he says he'll do without causing collateral damage. The respect feels good. Classic had spent so long being seen as annoying or childish that being seen as competent is genuinely novel. People trust him, they value his opinion, they ask for his help, because they know he'll actually help, instead of turning their request into a theatrical production. Classic finds genuine happiness in this. The friendships feel real because they're reciprocal. Patrick values their quiet time together. Sandy trusts him in her lab. Even Squidward tolerates his presence. Mr. Krabs promotes him. The customers appreciate him. This is what Classic always wanted to be valued for who he actually is. But there's guilt mixed in with the happiness, because while Classic's life is improving, Modern's life is falling apart. Classic sees Modern around Bikini Bottom, sometimes walking aimlessly, trying to talk to fish who avoid him, getting rejected from jobs. Modern looks lost. Classic wants to help. Of course he wants to help. Classic is fundamentally a good person who feels bad when others are struggling, even when those others kind of deserve to be struggling. Classic knows intellectually that Modern's situation is a direct consequence of Modern's actions. Modern got fired because Modern caused disasters. Modern is isolated because Modern wouldn't respect boundaries. But knowing this intellectually doesn't stop Classic from feeling guilty emotionally. They share a face. When Classic looks at Modern struggling, he sees a version of himself failing. It's uncomfortable. Patrick tells Classic to stop feeling guilty. Sandy tells Classic to stop feeling guilty. Even Squidward, in his own Squidward way, suggests that Classic's guilt is misplaced. Everyone tells Classic the same thing. Modern's consequences are Modern's fault. Classic believes them most of the time. But late at night, when he's home with Gary, the guilt creeps back in. What if Classic had tried harder to teach Modern about boundaries? What if Classic had been more patient? What if Classic had found a way to make Modern understand before things got this bad? Gary meows at him in a way that sounds judgmental, which either means Gary thinks Classic should stop overthinking this, or Gary wants more food. With Gary, it's usually about food. Classic goes to work the next morning and makes Krabby Patties. He hangs out with Patrick and watches clouds. He helps Sandy with science. He tolerates Squidward tolerating him. He lives his good life. And he tries not to think about Modern. He tries not to feel guilty. He tries to accept that sometimes people face consequences for their actions, and those consequences aren't your responsibility to fix. For Classic, trying has always been enough. Modern's downward spiral. Modern SpongeBob wakes up without a job for the first time in years. Most people would use this as a moment for reflection. Modern uses it as a moment to plan his comeback tour like he's a washed-up pop star who thinks Vegas is calling. He's convinced that once Bikini Bottom sees how much they miss his energy, job offers will pour in. Spoiler alert, he's spectacularly wrong. Modern's first stop is the Chum Bucket, which is basically like applying to work at the restaurant that serves food poisoning as a menu item. Plankton is desperate enough to hire literally anyone. The man has been running a failed restaurant for decades. Plankton interviews Modern for approximately 4 minutes before Modern suggests they add a ball pit and turn every meal into dinner theater. Plankton, who has dedicated his entire existence to stealing a sandwich recipe and failed every single time, somehow still has higher standards than this. The guy who once disguised himself as a pickle thinks Modern's ideas are too ridiculous. Plankton tells Modern to leave. Modern thinks he's joking and starts rearranging furniture. Plankton physically removes him. Modern has now been fired from the worst restaurant in Bikini Bottom. That's like getting kicked out of a dive bar for being too messy. The Bargnon Mart is next. They're always hiring stalkers because it's retail, and retail has the turnover rate of a revolving door in a hurricane. The manager explains the job. Put items on shelves, make sure everything is organized, don't bother customers. This is Retail 101. Modern lasts 3 hours. He reorganizes the entire store by color instead of product type. Soup is now next to orange juice because they're both orange. This is the organizational system of someone who thinks rainbows are more important than finding what you need. He creates an elaborate song and dance routine to demonstrate shelf stocking, which somehow involves a ladder, juggling, and a small fire. He also decides shopping should be a scavenger hunt where nothing is labeled. The manager fires him before lunch. Modern genuinely doesn't understand why. Nobody goes to the grocery store for excitement. If your grocery shopping is exciting, something has gone horribly wrong. In the episode SpongeBob You're Fired, Modern gets fired from the Krusty Krab and tries to get hired at other restaurants. He works at Weenie Hut, Pizza Pie Hole, and Taco Sombrero. At each place, he cannot stop making Krabby Patties. He turns pizzas into patties. He turns hot dogs into patties. He turns tacos into patties. The man has one skill and he applies it to every situation like a hammer looking for nails, except the hammer is made of meat. The episode shows Modern's complete inability to adapt or follow different instructions. He only knows one way to do things, and when that way doesn't fit, he just does it anyway and seems genuinely confused when people get upset. This is like showing up to a basketball game and insisting on playing football because that's what you know. Modern applies to every business in Bikini Bottom. The Reef Cinema, he suggests making every movie interactive by having the audience throw popcorn at the screen and yell over the dialogue. The Bikini Bottom Museum, he immediately touches exhibits that say, "Do not touch." The signs are commands backed by centuries of museum protocol. The Shady Shoals Rest Home, he suggests turning bingo night into extreme bingo with fireworks and obstacle courses. The average age there is probably 90. These fish don't need obstacle courses. They need their medication and a comfortable chair. By the end of week 1, Modern has been rejected from 17 different jobs. By the end of week 2, he's been rejected from 43. That's roughly 3 job rejections per day. Modern is speedrunning unemployment like it's a competitive sport. The businesses he's already banned from start displaying his picture in their windows like he's a wanted criminal. The Bargmart has a full poster that says, "Do not serve this sponge." Modern sees the poster and thinks it's fan art. He takes a selfie with it. This is the self-awareness equivalent of thinking the wanted poster at the post office is a modeling opportunity. Sandy's tree dome remains off limits. She's got a new sign, Modern SpongeBob, permanently banned. Modern knocks on her door hoping she's changed her mind. Sandy answers through the speaker system and reminds him that he destroyed 2 months of research and nearly blew up her tree dome. Modern argues he was just trying to make science more exciting. Sandy responds by turning on the lawn sprinklers aimed directly at him. Mrs. Puff's driving school has upgraded from a restraining order to a full security system that alerts her when Modern is within 50 feet of the building. This is the kind of security usually reserved for government buildings or celebrities avoiding stalkers. Friends start avoiding his calls. Patrick sees Modern's name on his shell phone and suddenly remembers he has an important appointment to stare at his rock. Sandy sees Modern approaching and pretends she's not home despite the lights being clearly on. Even the jellyfish in jellyfish fields scatter when they see Modern coming. The jellyfish, the creatures with no higher brain function beyond float and sting. Even they recognize Modern as a threat. In the episode Little Yellow Book, Modern keeps a diary where he writes down his completely delusional interpretation of events. When Squidward yells at him about Gary eating his belongings, Modern writes it down as enlightening critique from a close friend. When Mr. Krabs uses him as a chimney sweep, Modern describes it as quality time together. The diary shows Modern living in a fantasy world where everyone loves him and every interaction is positive, regardless of what actually happened. This delusional thinking continues through his unemployment. Modern genuinely believes everyone is just having a bad week. He doesn't connect his behavior to the consequences. When businesses refuse to hire him, he assumes they don't recognize talent. When friends avoid his calls, he assumes they're just busy. When Sandy bans him, he assumes she's being overprotective rather than protecting her equipment from him. Modern gets more desperate as the weeks go on. He starts showing up at the Krusty Krab during lunch rush to demonstrate how much the restaurant needs him. The restaurant is functioning perfectly without him. Mr. Krabs threatens to call the police. Modern crashes Sandy's science presentations. Sandy has him removed by security. He interrupts Patrick's quiet time repeatedly until Patrick starts hiding under his rock when he sees Modern coming. Patrick, the starfish who once forgot how to eat. Even Patrick has developed avoidance strategies. The desperation manifests as increased clinginess. Modern doesn't take hints, because taking hints requires reading social cues, and Modern reads social cues like most people read ancient Sanskrit. He doesn't accept no for an answer because he's decided that no means try harder. When someone tells him to go away, he hears, "Convince me to let you stay." Modern doubles down on being fun instead of reconsidering his approach. This is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. If making things exciting didn't work, clearly he just needs to make them more exciting. The logic is completely backward, but Modern can't see it because that would require self-reflection. He starts blaming everyone else. The problem is that everyone else is too sensitive. They don't understand fun. They're boring. Modern creates an entire narrative where he's the misunderstood visionary and everyone else is the problem. Spoiler: if everyone around you is the problem, you're probably the problem. Modern walks around Bikini Bottom talking to himself about how people will eventually realize they were wrong. He sits on benches muttering about how boring Classic is. He stands outside the Krusty Krab watching Classic work and convincing himself that the restaurant looks empty and sad without him. The restaurant is packed. Everyone looks happy. Modern is watching objective reality and deciding it means the opposite. By week 3, even Modern's few remaining defenders start keeping distance. The teenager who thought Modern was hilarious realizes Modern isn't funny when you have to be around him constantly. The tourist left town. The demolition company owner admits that while Modern is good at destroying things, he's also unpredictable and dangerous. Modern ends up spending most of his time alone, unemployed, confused, and convinced that everyone else is wrong. He's got unlimited free time and zero self-awareness about how to use it productively. He's got energy to spare, and nobody who wants to be around it. The real tragedy is that Modern never connects the dots. He never realizes his behavior drives people away. He never understands that respect and boundaries matter more than fun and excitement. He never learns that relationships require reciprocity. He never grows because growth requires acknowledging you need to grow, and Modern is fundamentally incapable of that acknowledgement. Modern just keeps being Modern, increasingly isolated and increasingly confused about why isolation keeps happening to him. It's like watching someone repeatedly walk into a glass door and blame the door for being invisible. And somewhere in Bikini Bottom, Classic is living his best life, completely unaware that Modern's downward spiral is about to come full circle and drag him back into the chaos he just escaped. Let's talk about Classic SpongeBob for a bit. And before we move on, subscribe to the channel. Classic's internal conflict. Classic SpongeBob has a problem. He's fundamentally a good person cursed with the ability to feel empathy. Instead of flying or super strength, his superpower is guilt that sits in your stomach like bad seafood. He watches Modern around Bikini Bottom, and it's like watching a car crash in slow motion, except the car is also on fire and screaming about how everyone else needs to learn to drive better. Modern walks past businesses that banned him and genuinely doesn't understand why. He tries talking to fish who cross the street to avoid him. He stands outside the Krusty Krab watching Classic work with this confused puppy expression. Classic feels terrible about it, which is objectively ridiculous because Modern's situation is 100% Modern's own doing, but Guilt doesn't care about logic. Guilt operates on vibes, and the vibe is yellow sponge suffering. Must fix. The guilt manifests in weird ways. Classic burns a Krabby Patty because he's distracted thinking about Modern. Classic volunteers to work a double shift just to avoid going home and potentially seeing Modern wandering around looking lost. Classic asks Sandy if there's a scientific cure for feeling bad about someone who absolutely deserves what's happening to them. Sandy says no, but she appreciates that Classic asked before touching any of her equipment this time. Patrick notices during one of their jellyfishing sessions. Classic keeps stopping mid-swing to stare off into the distance looking haunted. Patrick asks what's wrong. Classic explains he feels bad about Modern being unemployed and isolated. Patrick, demonstrating more emotional intelligence than usual, the bar is underground, suggests maybe Classic should help him. Classic explains he's tried, multiple times. Modern doesn't want help. Modern wants someone to agree that everything he does is perfect and everyone else is the problem. Patrick thinks about this for approximately 3 seconds, which is a long time for Patrick, and says maybe some people can't be helped. This is profound coming from someone who once tried to open a jar by screaming at it. Patrick adds that Classic looks tired lately. Like really tired. Like someone who's been carrying something heavy for too long, tired. Classic realizes Patrick is right. He's been carrying guilt about Modern like a backpack full of rocks. Except the rocks keep multiplying and nobody asked him to carry them in the first place. In the episode Krusty Love, Mr. Krabs puts SpongeBob in charge of his wallet during a date because Krabs can't stop spending money on Mrs. Puff. Krabs tells SpongeBob not to let him spend any money no matter what. Clear instructions. Simple boundaries. Then Krabs immediately starts demanding SpongeBob buy things. Flowers because you can't show up empty-handed. Then chocolates because you can't bring flowers without chocolates. Then a sun hat because the sun is beating down on Mrs. Puff's head, even though she says she has a hat in her closet. Then a fur coat. Then shoes. Then jewelry. Then a washing machine. Then a dryer to go with the washing machine. Every single time SpongeBob buys something, Krabs screams at him for spending all his money. Every single time SpongeBob tries to refuse, Krabs screams at him for not taking care of Mrs. Puff. The instructions are contradictory. The situation is impossible. SpongeBob is running back and forth like a deranged delivery service while Krabs keeps yelling his name over and over. Eventually, SpongeBob snaps. He screams absolute gibberish at Mr. Krabs. Arg! Rega fleba breka breka smullen ellen Mr. Krabs, because actual words have lost all meaning. Mrs. Puff looks up the gibberish in a dictionary and blushes, implying SpongeBob just cursed out Mr. Krabs in languages that don't exist yet. But here's what matters. Even after all that, even after the impossible situation and the contradictory demands and the complete mental breakdown, SpongeBob never stops caring about Mr. Krabs. When Krabs starts crying about being a lonely old crustacean who found love, SpongeBob immediately caves. He gets the washing machine. He can't stand seeing someone he cares about upset, even when that person is being completely unreasonable. That's who Classic is. That's the curse of being empathetic. You care about people even when they're actively making your life worse. You feel guilty even when the situation has nothing to do with you. You want to help even when helping is impossible. So Classic watches, Modern struggle and feels that same pull. That same instinct that made SpongeBob keep trying to help Mr. Krabs, despite the gibberish screaming breakdown. Patrick tells Classic that wanting to help is good, but Classic needs to protect himself too. Patrick says this while eating a sandwich he found under his rock 3 weeks ago, which slightly undermines the advice, but the point stands. Sandy uses scientific terminology about boundaries and self-preservation and mental health. Squidward just says don't bother, he's a lost cause because Squidward has never sugarcoated anything in his life. Everyone agrees. Classic has tried enough. Classic doesn't owe Modern anything. Classic should move on and enjoy his promotion and his peaceful life and his friends who actually respect boundaries. But Classic can't shake it. The guilt sits there like a stone. So he makes a decision that's either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. One more attempt. One final try with crystal clear boundaries and explicit conditions. If Modern can follow basic rules, maybe they can coexist peacefully. If Modern can't, then Classic walks away knowing he exhausted every possible option and the guilt can finally leave him alone. Classic tracks down Modern sitting on a bench near Jellyfish Fields. Modern is talking to himself about how boring everyone in Bikini Bottom is and how they'll all realize they were wrong eventually. Classic sits down next to him. Modern looks surprised and then immediately launches into a speech about how Classic finally came to his senses. Classic cuts him off. He's here to offer help, but only if Modern is willing to actually change his behavior. Classic has conditions. Non-negotiable, carved in stone, break these and we're done conditions. Listen when people talk to you. Actually listen, not just wait for your turn to talk. Respect boundaries when people say no. When someone says stop, you stop. When someone says they don't want your help, you don't help. Accept consequences for your actions instead of blaming everyone else for being too sensitive. Follow instructions at jobs instead of deciding you know better than your employer. Ask before touching things, especially things that could explode or represent months of someone's research. Classic goes through each one carefully. These are the price of admission. Break any of these and Classic is done. Modern listens with an expression suggesting he's actually paying attention for once. When Classic finishes, Modern nods enthusiastically. He agrees to everything. He promises he'll follow all the conditions. He thanks Classic for giving him another chance. He says this time will be different because now he understands what went wrong before. Classic wants to believe him. He desperately wants to believe that 2 weeks of unemployment and isolation and rejection have taught Modern something. That maybe hitting rock bottom was the wake-up call Modern needed. That maybe the clear structure will give Modern the framework he's been missing. The thing about caring for people who won't help themselves is that it's like being SpongeBob with Mr. Krabs' wallet. You're trying to help someone by following their instructions, but the instructions keep changing and suddenly you're the bad guy no matter what you do. Eventually you end up screaming gibberish because logical communication has failed and words have lost all meaning and you're just tired. But Classic hasn't reached the gibberish screaming phase yet. Right now, looking at Modern's eager face and listening to his promises, Classic allows himself to hope. Maybe this time will be different. Maybe Modern means it. Classic is about to learn an important lesson about the difference between someone saying they'll change and someone actually being willing to do the work required to change. Between promises made with enthusiasm and promises kept with consistency. Between wanting to believe the best in people and accepting the reality of who they've shown themselves to be. This is going to fail. Quickly and spectacularly. But right now, Classic is still hopeful. And hope, as they say, dies last usually right after your patience and your energy and your will to keep trying. Boundaries immediately broken. The thing about promises is that they're only worth something if the person making them actually intends to keep them. Modern SpongeBob makes promises the way most people make New Year's resolutions, enthusiastically, sincerely in the moment, and with absolutely zero follow-through. The agreement lasts approximately 7 minutes. That's less time than it takes to microwave a burrito. That's shorter than most commercial breaks. That's faster than Modern got fired from his last 3 jobs combined. Classic and Modern walk away from that bench with what Classic thinks is a mutual understanding. Classic feels lighter than he has in weeks because maybe, just maybe, this will actually work. They part ways. Classic goes to the Krusty Krab for his afternoon shift. Modern says he's going to look for jobs and practice respecting boundaries. Classic is optimistic. Classic is hopeful. Classic is about to have that optimism surgically removed by reality. Modern's first stop is Sandy's tree dome, because apparently when you promise not to do something, the logical next step is to immediately do that thing. Sandy is working on her new atmospheric pressure regulator, the replacement for the one Modern destroyed. She's been working on it for a week. She's got it about 60% rebuilt. Modern knocks on the door. Sandy, who learned her lesson last time, doesn't open it. She uses the intercom to ask what Modern wants. Modern explains that he's changed. He's got boundaries now. He just wants to apologize in person for destroying her last project. Sandy, who has a PhD and therefore should know better, but is also Texan and therefore believes in giving people second chances, makes a critical error. She opens the door. Modern walks in and immediately starts complimenting the new regulator. He says it looks great. He says Sandy is so talented. He says he's learned so much about respecting science. Then, while saying all of this, his hand drifts toward the equipment like a kid reaching for cookies after being told not to. Sandy tells him not to touch anything. Modern says he knows. He remembers. He's just looking. His hand keeps moving. Sandy says his name in that warning tone that teachers use right before they send you to the principal's office. Modern's hand touches the regulator. Sandy physically removes him from the tree dome. Modern is confused about why she's upset when he was just admiring her work. Sandy reminds him that admiring means looking, not touching. Modern argues that touching is how you really appreciate craftsmanship, which is the logic of someone who's never been to a museum. Sandy slams the door and locks it. Modern has been in the tree dome for less than 3 minutes. Strike one. Modern's next stop is Squidward's house because when you're on a roll, why stop? Squidward is practicing clarinet, which is his sacred personal time. The one time of day when Squidward gets to pretend he's a successful artist instead of a chronically depressed cashier. Modern knocks on the door. Squidward ignores it because Squidward has caller ID for his front door. He installed it specifically because of SpongeBob situations. Modern knocks again. Then he starts yelling through the door that he just wants to talk for a minute. Squidward, deciding that answering will make Modern leave faster than ignoring him, opens the door and says he's busy. Modern says he knows, he can hear the clarinet, it sounds great. It doesn't sound great. Squidward plays clarinet, the way cats sing opera with passion but zero talent. Modern says he just wanted to apologize for all the times he interrupted Squidward's personal time. Squidward says, apology accepted, now leave. Modern says, wait, he has an idea that would make Squidward's clarinet playing even better. Squidward's eye twitches. He asks what idea. Modern suggests they could do a duet. Squidward says no. Modern says it would be fun. Squidward says no again, louder. Modern says Squidward is being closed-minded. Squidward points out that Modern promised to respect boundaries, and this is the opposite of that. Modern says he's just trying to bond. Squidward slams the door in Modern's face. Modern stands outside genuinely confused about why Squidward doesn't want to bond over music. He literally promised Classic he would respect Squidward's space and then immediately tried to force Squidward into a musical collaboration. Squidward explicitly rejected. Strike two. Modern's final stop is the Krusty Krab, because apparently speedrunning failure is his new hobby. He's banned from the Krusty Krab. Mr. Krabs made this very clear. There's a photo of Modern behind the register with "Do Not Serve" written on it. But Modern has convinced himself that the ban was just a misunderstanding that his new boundary-respecting self can fix. Modern walks in during the lunch rush. Classic is at the grill. Squidward is at the register. Mr. Krabs is in his office, counting money. Modern walks straight into the kitchen like he still works there. Classic sees him and asks what he's doing here. Modern says he's here to help. Classic reminds Modern that he's banned. Modern says he knows, but he's changed and he wants to prove it. Classic tells him to leave. Modern says just give him 5 minutes to show Mr. Krabs that he can be responsible. Before Classic can physically stop him, Modern has grabbed a spatula and started improving the Krabby Patty system. He's rearranging the grill setup. He's reorganizing the condiment station. He's adding his own flair to orders that customers specifically requested be made the normal way. Classic watches this happen in real time. All 7 minutes of hope and optimism die screaming. Classic confronts Modern. He points out that Modern agreed to boundaries literally 7 minutes ago and has already violated every single one. Touched Sandy's equipment after being told not to. Interrupted Squidward after promising to respect his space. Entered the Krusty Krab after being explicitly banned and started making unauthorized changes. Modern looks genuinely confused. He thought Classic wanted him to be himself. That's what everyone always says, right? Just be yourself. Modern was being himself. Modern was trying to help. Classic's response is quiet and exhausted. Being yourself shouldn't hurt everyone around you. This is the fundamental problem that Modern will never understand. Modern thinks being himself means doing whatever he wants without regard for others. Modern thinks authenticity is an excuse for boundary violations. Modern thinks good intentions cancel out bad impact. Modern operates under the belief that enthusiasm trumps consent. Classic walks away. Actually walks away. Mid-shift, mid-conversation, mid-everything. He just turns around and leaves the Krusty Krab. Mr. Krabs will yell at him later, but right now, Classic cannot be in the same building as Modern for one more second without completely losing it. Modern yells after him that Classic will regret this, that Classic is making a mistake, that everyone will realize eventually that Modern was right all along. The yelling gets quieter as Classic gets farther away, but Modern keeps going like he's auditioning for a dramatic movie scene, except there's no dramatic music and nobody's impressed. Classic keeps walking. He's done. The kind of done where you've tried everything and finally accepted that some people will not change no matter how many chances you give them or how clearly you explain what needs to change. Classic tried patience. He tried communication. He tried clear boundaries with explicit conditions. He tried everything except accepting that Modern is fundamentally incapable of respecting other people's needs over his own desires. Modern stands in the Krusty Krab kitchen, still holding a spatula, still confused about what just happened, still convinced that everyone else is the problem. In his mind, he kept his promise. In his mind, he was respecting boundaries. In his mind, Classic is the one being unreasonable. This is the tragedy of Modern. He genuinely doesn't see what he did wrong. The gap between his perception and reality is so wide you could drive a boat through it. And somewhere in the distance, Classic finally feels the weight of guilt lifting off his shoulders. He gave Modern a chance with clear conditions. Modern broke every single condition within minutes. Classic can walk away now knowing he did everything possible, and the failure is entirely on Modern. Sometimes caring about someone means walking away when they refuse to meet you halfway. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is stop trying to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Classic heads home to Gary, who will meow judgmentally but supportively. Modern heads nowhere in particular, still yelling about how everyone will see they were wrong. Now let's check what Patrick is up to. The failed reconciliation. Patrick Star has an idea, which is already a concerning way to start any sentence. Patrick's ideas typically range from harmless but stupid to how is he still alive. This one falls somewhere in the middle. He's going to fix Classic and Modern's relationship by organizing an intervention. Patrick's logic goes like this. Classic and Modern are both SpongeBob. They're both his best friend. Therefore, they need each other. Therefore, if Patrick gets everyone together and makes them talk, they'll hug at the end and learn a valuable lesson. This is the reasoning of someone who thinks relationship problems can be solved like a sitcom episode. Patrick once tried to fix a broken TV by hitting it with a rock. The TV exploded. Patrick considered this a success because it was no longer broken, it was destroyed, which is technically different. Patrick spends 2 days organizing this intervention like it's a surprise party, except instead of cake, there's emotional confrontation. He invites Sandy, Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and several townspeople. He rents out a room at the Krusty Krab after hours. He makes a banner that says, "Let's all be friends," except he spelled friends wrong. He wrote friends, which is honestly closer than expected. Modern shows up early, wearing his red headband and carrying a list of grievances about how everyone has mistreated him. The list is 3 pages long, single-spaced. Classic shows up reluctantly because he cannot resist Patrick's sad face. Classic points out he already tried giving Modern another chance and Modern violated all boundaries within 7 minutes. Patrick says this time will be different because everyone will be there to hold Modern accountable. Classic looks exhausted but agrees. Everyone arrives looking various degrees of uncomfortable. Sandy brings her notepad like this is a scientific experiment. Squidward brings his clarinet in case he needs to pretend he was just passing through. Mr. Krabs brings his calculator because he's still tallying damages. Even Mrs. Puff shows up, still processing the trauma of Modern's musical driving lesson. Patrick starts by saying everyone should share their feelings. This is Patrick's understanding of therapy based on watching 5 minutes of a daytime talk show. Modern immediately volunteers to go first. He's been preparing for this moment. Modern launches into a 7-minute speech about how he's been misunderstood, how he was just trying to make Bikini Bottom more fun, how everyone is too focused on rules and forgot how to enjoy life, how Classic has become boring and lost his spark. Modern talks for 7 minutes straight without letting anyone else speak, already a bad sign. When Modern finishes, Patrick asks Classic if he has anything to say. Classic says he already said everything he needs to say. He gave Modern clear boundaries. Modern broke them immediately. Patrick asks what if Modern has really changed this time. Classic points out Modern promised he changed last time and lasted 7 minutes. Modern interrupts to say that was different. He understands now what went wrong. He's ready to prove he's changed. Sandy asks how. Modern says give him any task with clear boundaries and he'll follow them perfectly. This is the confidence of someone who genuinely believes they've figured everything out despite all evidence suggesting otherwise. Mr. Krabs says fine. Modern can help with dinner prep tomorrow. Simple task. Clear boundaries. Follow Classic's instructions. Don't improvise. Don't touch anything without permission. Modern agrees enthusiastically. He shakes everyone's hands. He thanks Patrick for organizing this. The next evening, Modern shows up exactly on time. Classic explains the system. Orders come in. Classic makes them. Modern helps with prep work and cleaning. Simple, clear, defined roles. Modern nods along. He says he understands. For approximately 3 minutes, Modern does exactly that. 3 minutes of following instructions. 3 minutes of respecting boundaries. 3 minutes of proving he can change. Then Modern sees Classic working the grill and gets an idea. Ideas are Modern's natural enemy. Nothing good has ever come from Modern having an idea. Modern thinks Classic looks stressed. Modern thinks he could help by making the process more efficient. Before Classic can stop him, Modern has grabbed a spatula and started rearranging the grill setup. He's moving condiments around, he's changing the order of operations. He's adding his own flair to the system. Classic has perfected over years. Classic tells Modern to stop. Modern says he's just trying to help. Classic reminds Modern that the boundary was to follow instructions. Modern says he is following instructions, he's just improving them. That's like saying you followed the recipe, except you changed all the ingredients. The dinner rush is in full swing. Customers are waiting. Orders are backing up. Modern grabs an order ticket and starts making a Krabby Patty his own way. Classic says that's not what the customer ordered. Modern says the customer will love this version more, which is the logic of someone who's never worked in customer service. Sandy walks in to observe and immediately sees the problem. She starts timing on her stopwatch. 3 minutes and 42 seconds since Modern arrived. That's how long he lasted before violating every boundary everyone agreed on. Modern keeps going. He's interrupting Classic's cooking. He's serving orders that don't match what customers requested. When a customer complains their order is wrong, Modern says they should be more adventurous. Buddy, people go to fast food restaurants specifically because they don't want adventure. They want a burger that tastes the same every time. Patrick walks in and immediately sees this isn't working. He asks what's going wrong. Modern says nothing is going wrong, everyone is just being too sensitive. Modern actually says this out loud, to a room full of people who've been affected by his chaos while actively causing more chaos. Even the townspeople who showed up to support giving Modern another chance can't defend this. Mrs. Puff watches Modern grab a spatula without permission and has flashbacks. The Bargain Mart manager watches Modern rearrange the condiment station and starts sweating. Fred's leg starts hurting just from watching Modern move around. This is psychosomatic but also valid. Classic puts down his spatula. He takes off his Krusty Krab hat. He looks at Modern and says 4 words. I'm done. I tried. Modern stops mid-spatula flip looking confused. Classic says he tried patience, communication, clear boundaries, and second chances. Modern lasted less than 4 minutes before violating every single agreement they made. Modern argues this is different. He was just trying to help. Classic says Modern is always just trying to help and it always makes things worse. Modern says everyone is overreacting. Classic says Modern's impact on people matters more than Modern's intentions. Sandy backs Classic up with data. She shows her stopwatch, 3 minutes and 42 seconds. If Modern can't follow through when everyone is watching him specifically to see if he can respect boundaries, he'll never follow through. Squidward adds that Modern is incapable of change because Modern doesn't think he needs to change. Modern thinks everyone else needs to change their expectations of him. Modern looks around and asks why they're all ganging up on him. He was just being himself. Why is everyone so sensitive? That question is the nail in the coffin, because it shows Modern still doesn't get it. He's asking why everyone else can't just accept his behavior and stop complaining about it. Classic leaves, just walks out without another word. Patrick calls after him, but Classic keeps walking. Sandy follows to make sure he's okay. Squidward follows because the show's over. Modern stands in the kitchen holding a spatula, surrounded by people who've given up on him, still confused about what he did wrong. Patrick's intervention has failed spectacularly. You can't meet someone halfway when that person won't take a single step in your direction. Classic goes home. Patrick follows because Patrick still thinks maybe there's a way to fix this. Classic explains that some people can't be helped or changed without making your life worse. Patrick says, but Modern is still SpongeBob. Classic says Modern is what SpongeBob becomes when you remove all the qualities that made SpongeBob worth being friends with in the first place. This is Classic choosing his own well-being over Modern's feelings. This is Classic accepting that he did everything possible and the failure is entirely on Modern. Modern walks home alone, still muttering about how everyone overreacted. Where they end up. 6 months after the failed intervention, Bikini Bottom has settled into a new normal that looks suspiciously like the old normal, except with better property insurance rates and significantly less screaming. Classic SpongeBob wakes up at 5 a.m. every morning because he's a functional person with a sleep schedule. He makes himself breakfast toast, not a 5-course meal with musical accompaniment. He feeds Gary, who meows approvingly because Gary has developed opinions about which SpongeBob he prefers, and he's not subtle about it. Classic walks to work, says good morning to neighbors who actually say good morning back, and arrives at the Krusty Krab ready to make Krabby Patties the correct way. The Krusty Krab runs like a machine that's been properly maintained instead of repeatedly set on fire for content. Customers come in, order food, receive the food they ordered, and leave satisfied. This is apparently revolutionary in Bikini Bottom. The bar is so low it's basically a tripping hazard, but Classic consistently clears it. Mr. Krabs notices the difference in his profit margins. No refunds, no property damage, no lawsuits from customers who got hit by flying meat. The health inspector gives them an A rating. The health inspector looks disappointed about this because he was clearly hoping for drama, but an A is an A. 3 months after Modern gets fired, Mr. Krabs calls Classic into his office. Classic immediately assumes he's in trouble because that's what years of working for a crustacean who treats money like his children has conditioned him to expect. But Mr. Krabs has an announcement. Classic is being promoted to co-manager alongside Squidward. Yes, Squidward Tentacles. The guy whose life philosophy is, everyone is terrible and I hate it here. That Squidward is now sharing management duties with Classic SpongeBob. This is like making Eeyore and Tigger co-CEOs of a Fortune 500 company. It should be a disaster. It somehow works. Here's why it works. Classic has learned to read Squidward's moods like their subtitles. Classic knows when Squidward needs space, when Squidward needs help but won't ask for it, and when Squidward is 3 seconds away from snapping and needs someone to handle the customer who's complaining about pickle placement. Classic handles the enthusiasm and customer service. Squidward handles the cynicism and telling people no. Together, they're a complete manager. It's like a buddy cop movie except with more tartar sauce and less explosions. Squidward will never admit this out loud, because Squidward would rather eat his clarinet than admit positive feelings. But he's grateful. The afternoon shifts used to be chaos. Now they're just normal retail hell, which in comparison feels like paradise. Squidward can take his clarinet breaks without someone bursting through the wall with a marching band. Small victories. Classic's friendships heal properly now. Sandy invites him to the Tree Dome regularly because she trusts him around her equipment. They work on science projects together. Classic asks questions that show he's genuinely trying to understand the work instead of just touching buttons randomly. Sandy actually teaches him real science. This is friendship. Mutual respect and shared interests. Revolutionary concept. Patrick and Classic return to their pre-modern dynamic. They go jellyfishing at whatever pace feels right. They sit on rocks and watch clouds without someone suggesting they turn it into an Olympic sport. They play board games that last 3 hours because Patrick needs 15 minutes to make each move and Classic just waits patiently. This is what actual friendship looks like when you're not treating it like a performance art piece. Classic has quiet evenings now. He comes home from work, feeds Gary, watches TV, reads comics. Sometimes Patrick comes over and they just exist in the same space without needing constant entertainment. Sometimes Sandy stops by to discuss her latest research. Sometimes even Squidward accidentally hangs out because he came over to complain about something and ended up staying for 2 hours. Squidward will deny this happened. Squidward is lying. The community trusts Classic again. Business owners see him and don't immediately check if their insurance premiums are paid up. Parents let their kids talk to him. Mrs. Puff lets him back in boating school. He still can't drive. Some things never change, but at least he's failing predictably instead of failing with pyrotechnics. Classic's life is good. Not exciting in the reality TV sense, but good in the actual human happiness sense. He's respected at work, trusted by friends, and valued by the community. He has meaningful relationships built on reciprocity instead of one person giving everything while the other takes without awareness. This is success. This is what Classic wanted all along. Meanwhile, modern SpongeBob is living his best life, if his best life is a cautionary tale about the consequences of refusing to grow as a person. Modern bounces between occasional gig jobs that last anywhere from 4 hours to 3 days before he gets fired. He works at a car wash and decides washing cars is boring, so he turns it into a foam party. The customers did not consent to a foam party. Their cars are still dirty. Several cars are damaged. Modern is confused about why everyone's upset. He works at a movie theater and decides tickets should be distributed through a scavenger hunt. The manager fires him before the first movie starts. He works at a library and decides books should be organized by how fun they look instead of by author or subject. The librarian physically removes him from the building. Modern gets these gigs because Bikini Bottom has a high turnover rate in service jobs and desperate managers who haven't heard about Modern yet. Then they hear about Modern, usually within hours, sometimes within minutes. The few enablers who thought Modern was entertaining start keeping their distance. The teenager who thought Modern was hilarious realizes that chaos is fun when you're watching from across the street, but exhausting when you're the one cleaning it up. The demolition company owner admits that while Modern is good at destroying things, he's also a liability nightmare. Even Patrick, who defended Modern out of loyalty, starts avoiding him because Patrick's definition of friendship requires the other person occasionally considering your feelings. Modern spends most of his time alone. He walks around Bikini Bottom talking to himself about how everyone will eventually realize they were wrong. He stands outside the Krusty Krab watching Classic work, convinced the restaurant looks empty and sad. The restaurant is packed. Everyone looks happy. Modern is watching objective reality and deciding it means something else entirely. Modern creates an entire narrative where he's the misunderstood genius ahead of his time. Like if Van Gogh was rejected by society, except Van Gogh was actually talented, and Modern's only skill is making things worse while insisting he made them better. Modern blames everyone else for being too sensitive, too boring, too afraid of fun. He never once considers that maybe the common denominator in all his failed relationships and lost jobs is him. The tragedy isn't that Modern is isolated. The tragedy is that Modern will never understand why he's isolated. He'll never connect his behavior to the consequences. He'll never realize that respect and boundaries matter more than fun and excitement. He'll never understand that you can't have relationships with people if you refuse to consider their needs alongside your own. Modern genuinely thinks everyone else is the problem. He thinks Classic is boring. He thinks Squidward is mean. He thinks Sandy is overprotective. He thinks Patrick is disloyal. He thinks Mr. Krabs is unreasonable. He thinks the entire town of Bikini Bottom is just wrong about what makes life worth living. The really sad part? Modern had everything Classic has now. He had a job, he had friends, he had a community that initially welcomed him with excitement. He lost all of it because he couldn't stop being himself for long enough to consider that maybe being yourself shouldn't hurt everyone around you. Classic and Modern are the same person from different timelines, and their endings are exactly what you'd expect. One of them learned to balance enthusiasm with awareness, and the other never learned anything because learning requires admitting you don't already know everything. Classic is happy, Modern is alone, and that's where they stay, because some people grow and some people just get louder about why growth is overrated. The final truth: Classic and Modern were never going to coexist peacefully. The incompatibility is structural. Classic needs boundaries that people respect. He needs relationships where both people give and take. He needs emotional growth and space to learn from mistakes. These are basic requirements for any healthy relationship. Modern offers chaos without consideration, one-sided relationships where he takes energy without giving anything back except problems to solve. He never learns, never grows, never changes because he thinks he's already perfect. These two approaches cannot coexist. One person needs boundaries, while the other thinks boundaries are suggestions to ignore. One person grows through experience while the other repeats the same mistakes indefinitely. One person gives you space when asked, while the other interprets requests for space as invitations to get louder. Classic tried patience, communication, clear boundaries with explicit conditions, and multiple chances. Modern never changed because he never thought he needed to. You cannot help someone who doesn't think they need help. You cannot teach someone who believes they already know everything. You cannot build a relationship with someone who refuses to meet you halfway. The hardest lesson: impact matters more than intent. Modern never meant to hurt anyone. His intentions were probably good, but intentions don't rebuild Sandy's destroyed research. Intentions don't fix Patrick's ruined birthday. Intentions don't repair damaged friendships. Good intentions without respectful actions are just noise. Enthusiasm without awareness is just chaos. Wanting to help without listening to what people actually need is just ego dressed up as generosity. You cannot maintain relationships with people who fundamentally don't respect you. Modern couldn't respect boundaries because he didn't believe in them. He thought every door was an invitation, every no meant keep trying. Persistence was the same as care. He confused wearing someone down with winning them over. Sometimes self-care means walking away from people who drain you, even when those people share your face, even when they don't mean to hurt you. Classic walked away because he started caring about himself more than fixing someone who didn't want to be fixed. Classic chose himself after exhausting every option. After weeks of choosing everyone else, he finally chose his own well-being over Modern's feelings. You can't set yourself on fire to keep someone warm who doesn't even notice they're cold. Conclusion: the lesson. Being kind doesn't mean tolerating everything. There's a difference between kindness and doormat behavior. Kindness is helping someone who needs help. Doormat behavior is letting someone destroy your life while apologizing for being in the way. Positivity without boundaries becomes toxic. Modern's enthusiasm makes him feel good while making everyone around him miserable. That's selfishness wearing a smile. Classic represents emotional maturity. Growth, empathy, limits. Modern represents Flanderization. Loud, shallow, stagnant. He's a cartoon mascot designed for noise, not a character people can relate to. When you put them in the same timeline, one drains the other. Classic can't maintain his emotional health while constantly cleaning up Modern's disasters. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't help others if you're drowning. This matters because it shows what happens when a character loses depth. Classic feels real, with genuine emotions, real relationships, actual growth. Modern feels like a parody with all surface traits cranked to 11 and nothing underneath. Classic has relatable struggles, wanting to do well at his job, wanting friends to like him, making people happy while needing them to respect his boundaries. Modern has no real struggles because he doesn't believe in problems. Everything is an adventure. Every disaster is just fun in disguise. One evolved into emotional complexity. The other devolved into a one-note joke. They can't coexist because their values are opposite. Classic values growth, empathy, and respect. Modern values excitement, attention, and chaos. The final image is simple and devastating in its contrast. Classic at the Krusty Krab, making Krabby Patties with Squidward actually smiling slightly. Surrounded by people who respect his boundaries. Modern somewhere else, alone, never understanding that impact matters more than intent. Same yellow sponge, completely different character. One has depth and growth. The other has volume and stagnation. The real tragedy. Modern never wanted to hurt anyone. He genuinely thought he was helping. But he never learned that you can't have relationships with people if you won't respect them. Classic learned that lesson. Modern never will. That's why one of them is happy and the other one isn't, and why that's exactly the ending they both earned. If you enjoyed our video today, subscribe to our channel for more videos like these.